Greetings, fellow armchair Imagineers. Tiki here.
And BlueDragonFive.
And welcome to the Main Street Cinema, the show where we discuss the finer points of filmmaking. Oh boy, Dragon. So we have reached the end of 2017, in a few days. We're not quite to the new year yet, but Dragon, suffice to say, I have today marked the day where I saw the big two movies that I really didn't want to make my list without seeing. I won't tell, you know what those two movies are, but I won't say exactly what they are for the audience out there in case, just to build up suspense. But suffice to say, Dragon, I'm just going to call it right now. I think 2017 has been a fantastic year for movies. It's been the best year of movies since we've been doing these ranking lists, I think. Dragon, basically any movie in my top 20 could be number one at any given year. Like, that's how good this year is. Like, my top 20 was impossible to rank, Dragon. And my top three in particular is just, I'm still going back and forth with my top three, Dragon. It's a juggling act with my top three. So this has been a tough one.
Right.
All right. So I guess before we start, Dragon, you have 40 movies on your list. I have 53. So I'm going to go through my 53 through 41 really quick, kind of rapid fire, and then Dragon and I will start kind of bouncing back between our two lists. Before we start, Dragon, do you want to kind of go over your honorable mentions once we start getting into your list?
Well, when you say honorable mentions, you mean the movies we wish we could have seen?
Yes. That's what I mean by honorable mentions, yes.
Sure, I mean, before I get to my list, you want to do it now?
Well, that's what I'm asking. Do you think you want to do it now? Why don't we do it once you get to your list? Because that way people will be more fresh on the stuff that you haven't seen.
Okay, that's fair.
Okay, folks. So I have 5 movies here that I really wish I would have gotten around to seeing. A couple of them, well, actually just one of them was in my theater, but I just didn't have the time. 4 of them just haven't gotten around to my theater yet, and you know how that works. I have no idea when they're going to get around, if they're going to get around. So first one is The Post with Tom Hanks and Meryl Streep, a new Spielberg movie. Dragon, I actually just saw the trailer for this one today in the movie theater, and I got to say, it looks really good. Of course, Tom Hanks. I've always been someone who kind of considers Meryl Streep a bit overrated, but this looks like a really good one. Again, Ready Player One. I'm excited for Spielberg to go back to blockbuster filmmaking with Ready Player One. I think he's using kind of these biopics. I don't want to say he's using the biopics as a crutch, but the biopic thing has very much become Spielberg's like 2010 style for the most part. So regardless, I'm looking forward to The Post. Phantom Thread, Dragon. This is a big one because this is the last performance, supposedly, by Daniel Day-Lewis. And it's a Paul Thomas Anderson movie. I love Paul Thomas Anderson movies. This is the smallest scale Paul Thomas Anderson movie since Punch Drunk Love, which is my favorite of his movies. And I gotta say, the subject matter doesn't really intrigue me all that much. It's basically kind of like an abusive relationship set within the fashion industry. It's a period piece, but, the directing and the cast just make me want to go see it. Let's see. Molly's Game. Not much to say about Molly's Game, except it's the directorial debut of Aaron Sorkin. I love Aaron Sorkin. Social Network, Steve Jobs, etc. Definitely want to check that out at some point. Darkest Hour, if only because of Gary Oldman's performance as Winston Churchill. And also, Dragon, Darkest Hour serves as kind of a nice, it's a nice complimentary piece, I've heard, to Dunkirk, which we'll get to.
I have also heard that, yes.
And finally, I, Tonya, which by all accounts sounds to be a bizarre, wacky, and pretty unconventional biopic about Tonya Harding, starring Margot Robbie. So those 5, Dragon, if I saw any of those 5, there's a very good chance they could get into the top 20 or even the top 10. So just want to give them a shout out. All right, Dragon, I know that as soon as I start screen sharing, there's going to be controversy. All right, I just know it. So
again, give the folks a number so we know we're counting down by just one more time. So what number we're starting?
Well, like I said, I'm at 53. Dragon, you're 40. So
yes.
We're going to start going to your list. I'm just going to crack out like 13 or 14 of these before we get to Dragon's list. Okay, Dragon, I'm scared to screen share. You're going to be pissed. You're going to be pissed.
God.
Number 53, Lego Ninjago.
It's not, well, it's not as bad as I was fearing. I'm not crazy about that ranking, but it's, I guess.
So Lego Ninjago is the movie this year that frustrated me the most. I like the visuals. I really like Justin Theroux as the villain. I don't really like anything else. Really, Dragon, it's the characters in this movie that really didn't sell it for me. Like the side characters, they're all just so one note, it's ridiculous. And also the editing in this movie. I've told you this before. You didn't think it was that bad, but my God, I thought the editing was way too fast paced. I mean, there's a difference between fast paced and just like cuts every 3 seconds, which is what this movie was. Like when I'm sitting in the theater and I'm literally like counting, like, all right, is it going to be like, because that's the thing, Dragon. All I want to do is take in this Lego world, right? All I want to do is actually take in the visuals of this movie. And the editing of this movie made it impossible to do so because it kept cutting. It was so rapid fire. It was just, it was a mess. It was just a total mess for me. Okay, number 52. Dragon, this is the Glass Castle. You probably don't recognize it just based on the picture.
Nope.
So this is one of 3 Woody Harrelson movies that's going to be on my list. By far the weakest. Dragon, I actually read this book in my freshman year of college, and I really liked the book. It's an autobiography. It's like a memoir. It's basically about growing up in poverty and kind of like the sort of the idealized childhood version of that versus the reality of it. And Dragon, I gotta say, I was looking forward to the movie because of Woody Harrelson, but the movie's a fucking mess. It's such a mess. I like this. It's like almost 2.5 hours long. It's a slog. And Dragon, I've gone on and on about my tone problems with you, right? Like one of the biggest pet peeves for me.
Yeah, Tiki is not a fan of mismatching tones. He's not crazy about that sort of thing.
I think The Glass Castle is like the biggest. It's like the biggest offender of the year by far. The tone of this movie was so all over the place. It bounced from like, Dragon, basically it would bounce from like, oh no, the little boy's going to be molested by the crazy aunt to, yay, we're having a party. Everything's fun. And I hated that about the movie, Dragon. I couldn't stand it. It was a shame too, because Woody Harrelson is very well cast as his role from the book. Like when I heard that he was going to be playing the role of the father from the book, I thought that was perfect casting, but it just, the execution of the movie just blew it. I know a couple YouTubers who really like this movie on a personal level, and some people say that people just don't understand what the message of the movie is. But quite frankly, for me, Dragon, I can't make that excuse because I read the book. I know the message of the book, and this movie it was trying to get there, but it just failed. All right, number 51, Bad Moms Christmas. What more needs to be said?
Well, it doesn't.
Dragon,
yeah, that doesn't really surprise me.
Do you really think that a movie called Bad Moms Christmas is going to be like anywhere but the bottom of this list?
Well, I don't know. I don't know, Tiki. When I saw the trailer for that, I was thinking Oscar contender. I don't know about you.
Okay, here's the thing. I was actually really pleasantly surprised by the first Bad Moms last year. I walked into it knowing nothing about it. It was just kind of like a time killer for me and my grandma, like a time killer matinee. I ended up really enjoying it. But this movie is, let's just say, Dragon, there's a couple mirrored movies this year. This and Daddy's Home 2 being one of them. Daddy's Home 2 is practically the same movie as this movie, except kind of reverse genders, and Daddy's Home 2 is actually entertaining. This is just painful. It was rushed into theaters. I think this had like less than a year in production from beginning to end, so no surprise, this is a mess.
Right.
All right, so number 50, Dragon, Beauty and the fucking Beast. This was, again, another mess. I mean, there's standalone scenes in this movie that work well, but overall, I don't really have a lot to say about this other than it's just kind of pointless. Here's the thing, Dragon. I feel like the movie was trying to have its cake and eating it too by because it's very, very faithful to the Disney movie in certain aspects.
But in the end, it gave itself diabetes.
Right. So, yeah, I think you and I can both agree Beauty and the Beast was a big letdown. Could have been a contender. All right, number 49. Okay, 49 is Girls Trip. Okay, Dragon, Girls Trip and Rough Night are practically the same movie. So those are like the two like comedy. It's like two comedies that like mirror each other. Bad Moms Christmas, Daddy's Home 2, and then Girls Trip and Rough Night.
Yeah, I've seen a few pieces of it. I didn't put it on my list because I just saw like a few clips from it, but I saw a little bit of Rough Night, so I kind of I get what you're saying on that one.
So Girls Trip has one standout performance by Timothy. I'm sorry, not Timothy.
It's not
Tiffany.
Oliphant, is it?
Tiffany. No, Tiffany. It's not even a man. Tiffany Haddish. Tiffany Haddish plays a really erratic, kind of crazy friend in this group, and she's entertaining. I got to say, all her scenes, she's the standout. Everything else in this movie is so predictable and so drawn out and so bland. Dragon, Mike Coulter plays like the like the jerky cheating husband in this movie.
No. Oh yeah, I remember you told me this.
Yeah. But I can't buy it because he's like literally like the most level-headed guy in the movie, so I can't be mad at him.
That's Mike Coulter. It's just he's so darn likable, even in an unlikable role. That's what you gotta.
Dragon, I hate to also play this political thing. I'm probably gonna get in trouble for this, but I feel like people are elevating this movie up more than it should be just because it's an all-black cast. I hate to go into it because I just think Rough Night is overall a stronger movie. Like, it's not great. Like, Rough Night's coming up, like, that's not far behind, let's say. But I don't know. Because people genuinely like Girls Trip and genuinely hate Rough Night. So, I don't know.
Let me ask you one important question about this movie, Tiki.
Sure.
Does Jada Pinkett Smith kill someone with her bare hands?
No, sadly
not. Then to me, it doesn't sound like a movie worth watching. That's just me.
But Mike Coulter's charming, even though he's supposed to be the bad guy.
Oh, but he's always charming.
All right, number 48, Dragon. Number 48. Okay. Yeah, Boss Baby.
Hey, you just used... Okay. Did you use this picture out of spite just to say, yeah, it's not that great?
No, I gave you the better picture.
Right.
I don't have a ton to say about this one. It's okay. It's not anything like Dragon. I was hoping that this movie would be something akin to Storks from last year, where that movie kind of came out of nowhere. And that was one of my favorite animated movies. From
Storks was good. Storks
very underrated animated movie.
Angus MacLean directed.
And this one just...
Oh, no, I'm sorry. Doug Sweelan. Keep going.
Yeah. Basically, besides the Mary Blair-inspired fantasy sequences in this movie, I have nothing to latch onto here. I'm not a big Alec Baldwin fan to begin with, so that was probably a big disconnect. I know you probably like this movie a little more than I did, so more power to you.
All right.
Okay, number 47. Life, aka the big Ryan Reynolds tentpole movie of the year, Dragon, where he's in all of 7 minutes of it.
I almost saw this movie, but I kind of removed it after I heard the underwhelming.
You know what's funny, Dragon? I remember during the Super Bowl, like you were like, "Oh, Tiki, did you see the trailer for the new Ryan Reynolds Jake Gyllenhaal movie?" Like you were kind of high on it.
It was.
I'm sorry.
It was a decent trailer. What can I tell you? It was kind of building some intrigue in space. Movies that build intrigue in space usually pan out well.
Here's the thing with Life. It's really not a bad movie at all. It's just very derivative of Alien.
Yeah.
So, I didn't see Alien Covenant, but I'm sure this is a better Alien movie than Alien Covenant was, for what that's worth.
Well, the gag, I'm sure you've heard the joke about this movie, Tiki, that basically people are saying if only they had the reveal that the life form on board was actually the Venom symbiote.
Yes, and that would have been fantastic.
Yeah.
It is a cool creature, Dragon. I'll give it that much. The creature is kind of like this weird, it's hard to describe. It's like kind of like a shapeless thing. It's like a shapeless squid thing. It's creative. But like I said, at the end of the day, this isn't a bad movie. It's just very, very derivative of other movies, so I can't really rank it much higher than this. Dragon, I don't know. It's not terrible. I think it is worth a watch. Okay, number 46. This is, Dragon, you probably don't recognize this. This is It Comes at Night. By far the most baffling movie of the year to me. This is a zombie apocalypse horror movie where almost nothing happens. Basically, the whole gist of it is that the main family gets paranoid about another family staying with them, and it's all about paranoia. It's a good kind of slow burn, sort of tension-filled movie, but it's really nothing special. And in terms of horror movies this year, it's definitely towards the bottom. Well made though. All right, sorry, Dre. I'm just kind of I'm checking my numbers in between just to make sure I stay on my right number.
Okay.
Okay, number 45, Hitman's Bodyguard.
Oh, it could have been like a little higher.
Yeah, I had a feeling this is where we.
I'm not saying by much. I'm just saying a little higher, you know?
It's disposable fun, Dragon. It's fun, but at the end of the day, it's not anything where I'm going to be like, oh my God, Hitman's Bodyguard just knocked my socks off, man.
I can't really disagree. It's disposable fun, but I mean, it's a lot of disposable fun, though.
Oh, it's also kind of the perfect, like what we were talking about earlier, kind of like the perfect like matinee time killer movie.
Yeah.
So it's good, but like I just can't really rank it much higher on the list.
All right.
Okay, number 43, Rough Night.
I mean, that's what I'm saying. Come on, you mean it couldn't be over Rough Night at the very least? Come on.
I had more fun with Rough Night.
All right, go on.
So Rough Night actually had a few really standout things about it. Just the whole plot of these girls basically thinking that they've killed a male stripper and then trying to hide the body the whole movie. This is a lot more fun than Girls Trip was, I think, Dragon. Girls Trip was basically just like, hey, the girls are getting back together, and oh no, Mike Coulter's a cheating, jerky bastard. This, there's a lot. This movie's more unconventional than Girls Trip is. I kind of couldn't stand Girls Trip because it was just so ripe with cliches. Where it's not a great movie by any stretch, but at the very least, it had a lot of clever set pieces in it. It's not anything that I'm going to like look back on in 5 years and be like, oh my God, Girls Trip, that just rewrote the book on comedy. But, or Rough Night, I should say.
I tell you what, Tiki.
Like I said, they're very interchangeable with each other.
When I kind of skimmed this movie, again, I've seen I've seen like the framework of the movie, I guess. I've seen like enough clips where I kind of get the gist of it. But when I saw this, just based on what you've told me, it just sounds like such kind of, it's taking the teeth out of the premise when you say, oh, he's not really dead. It should be they accidentally killed the stripper, then they gotta run with it. It just sounds like kind of like a convenient fix. It kind of takes the teeth out of them.
I won't deny that it is a convenient fix. It would be a better movie if they really did kill the stripper. Yeah, you're right about that.
Yeah.
All right.
That's my 2 cents on it. So
here's my 2 cents.
Now, what are you gonna do?
All right. Getting close to your list, Dragon. Number 43. This was the most competently made and most forgettable movie of the year, Dragon. It's very well made. Jake Gyllenhaal does a very, very good performance, as does Tatiana Maslany as the love interest. It's just such a cookie cutter, like based on an inspirational true story. He lost his legs, but he didn't lose his will to fight. God damn it. So really, it's a very well-made movie. It's just at the end of the day, I think it is probably the most forgettable movie of the year for me, just because it's like I've seen this same exact type of movie a million times before. But hey, if you like Jake Gyllenhaal, I'd recommend giving this one a watch just for the performance. You know what this is about, right?
A guy loses both of his legs.
It's about it's specifically in the Boston bombings.
Oh, that's okay. That's true. Okay, that's what that one is. I've heard about that one. Yeah.
Like I said, Dragon, very competently made. Just it really doesn't stand out from the pack when it comes to like inspirational true story movies. So that's why it's so low.
All right.
Okay. Okay, two more, Dragon. 2 more, and then we'll start going through your list.
Okie dokie.
Okay, number 42, Justice League.
Wait, what number is
this? Is about
number
42.
42?
Yes, fair for Justice League, I think.
I don't know. I might go like at least in the 30s with it.
Okay, to be fair, there was a time where I had this over Wonder Woman.
All right, okay, I guess in the end. All right, okay. Tell the folks. Tell them why.
Okay, look, like this was actually one of those weird movies where I really enjoyed myself in the theater just because I went in with such dirt low expectations that I was like, my God, this movie's actually slightly entertaining. I think the big highlight is Ezra Miller as the Flash. Like, if anything can be salvaged from the DCUU, Ezra Miller and Henry Cavill as Superman, I really feel like Henry Cavill as Superman like finally came into his own in this movie. Having said that, Dragon, this movie, it's like structurally, it's a mess. The villain is total weak sauce. The villain is laughable. It just reeks of reshoots all over the place. You know, there's a million things fundamentally wrong with this movie. But I had a really good time watching it. What can I say? All right. And number 41 is Despicable Me 3. And Dragon, it's mostly just for this guy right here. Balthazar Brat. I mean, really, like, he's honestly one of my favorite villains in any movie in 2017. He's so charismatic and entertaining. I'd like to see a whole movie of him. I know that's probably not going to happen, but I'd love it. Of course, this is Dragon. Did you know this is Trey Parker? This is the first time that Trey Parker has done voice work outside of South Park.
Really?
Yeah. I was surprised when I heard that too.
I didn't know he hasn't done voice.
He's done live action movies. But this is his first voiceover role outside of South Park.
That's strange.
Yeah, but I mean, honestly, everything else about Despicable Me 3 is kind of a blur for me. It's like, oh yeah, Agnes goes like looking for the unicorn in the forest or whatever, and the minions are in prison. But Balthazar Brat, like everything about Balthazar Brat is just super entertaining. All right. So, Dragon, now we've reached your number 40. Do you want to, I guess, do your honorable mentions first?
Sure. So, folks, here are the movies that, just I guess for context, these are movies I have not seen, but I really wanted to see this year. I've not gotten the chance to. Hopefully next year I'll be able to see them at some point. Basically a lot of limited release BS, a lot of just, don't have time for. Majority, 4 out of these 5, though, it's all limited release. There's no particular order. I'm just going to list them off here.
Kind of 4 out of the 5 for me as well. Darkest Hour was the only one out of the ones I listed I actually could have seen. So,
yeah. So this is one that, again, was like a limited release thing, and in the end, I just still waiting for it to be on HBO or a streaming service of some variety, Gifted with Chris Evans.
Okay.
That one just seemed like a nice movie. Just seemed like that's one I was hoping to go on vacation and watch it, rent it from. But I didn't get to go on that vacation. It was like I don't even know what would have been there. Regardless, I just kind of stymied out of that one. Like, oh, looked like a nice little story there. Big one that really, if it were in theaters, and again, it's kind of taunted me in that it's a limited release, but then became a wide release, but not to any of my theaters.
Oh, that always hurts.
The Shape of Water.
That doubly hurts.
Yeah, I really wanted to see Shape of Water. Even from the trailers, I was intrigued by it, and I figured, maybe if it depends when it comes out, and it came out against some other movies, and basically I kind of picked Disaster Artist over it in terms of, what to see. But, we've already had a big old discussion on Disaster Artist. People I know.
2 big discussions on Disaster Artist.
Anyway, the point is, Shape of Water again looks good. I'm hearing like it was kind of like a subtle Creature of Black Lagoon movie by Guillermo del Toro.
I'll tell you all about it when we get to it on the list, but that's not for a long while yet.
Well, regardless, I knew I could feel in the trailer it was going to be a good movie. And it was playing. I knew it was playing to del Toro's strengths. And I really wanted to see it. Michael Shannon, Octavia Spencer. It looked like a really good matchup. Anyway, so Point of Shape of Water is one I'm still looking forward to seeing eventually at some point. That'd be a good one. Daddy's Home 2, that one I could have seen. I just, it was a lot of stuff going around the holidays. I was not able to. It came out around Thanksgiving. So
sure.
Back to the Raptors with Christmas stuff,
You'll enjoy Daddy's Home 2 quite a bit, but it was never going to make your top 10 or anything.
Sure. I'm just saying, I purely watched Daddy's Home 1 purely because of the trailer for Daddy's Home 2.
Right.
Just the premise of Daddy's Home 2. Okay, John Lithgow and Mel Gibson as the fathers. Okay, I'm sold, and they're buddy in that movie. Okay, let's just see. And then, of course, just Yeah, so Daddy's Home 2 is just that's a fun one I was looking forward to seeing. Big one I really wish I could have seen. Honestly, I was so close to watching it for this, but I mean, it comes out January. It's like another. It's kind of like my Red Rider Christmas
Oh,
gift.
I think I know what it is.
A better, Better Call Saul season 3 is gonna be like my Red Rider Christmas gift this year. Like I always get Better Call Saul for a big Christmas gift. In this case, the movie I would have seen to kind of work it into this Professor Marcin, the Wonder Woman.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, I'm hearing basically it's kind of the DC. It's kind of a DC version of Saving Mr. Banks.
I was just amazed at how well it actually worked, Dragon, because when I first heard the premise, I was very skeptical.
Yeah, because I remember seeing the trailer for it. I had no idea how it was going to be released. Just say, okay, if it's like it's on Hulu or something.
That's yeah, exactly. I thought for sure it'd be like a Hulu movie, but no, I saw it in theaters and it was quite good. We'll get there.
Yeah, and again, I would very much like to see because I'm a little familiar with the story, and I've seen it kind of told on that. I'll give it a plug here, Robert Kirkman's Secret History of Comics, which is really good. They did kind of an hour version of it with different actors, so it was a decent reflection. I don't know how much it says the movie doesn't say, so I guess it's something to check out for folks out there. Regardless, that's one I really want to see. Another one I really want to see, just based on all the praise, and Kevin Smith loves this movie, and there's a main reason I want to see this movie. It's Brigsby Bear, I think that's how you pronounce it.
Dragon, that's definitely another one that I had a chance to watch that. Like I had a streamer of it, but I never got around to it. Like I was so close to watching that movie, Dragon, so close.
Kevin Smith, he adores this movie. Honestly, if I'm reading
Dragon,
the trailer,
you should have told me that. That would have pushed me over the edge to see it.
If I'm reading the trailer, I've seen the trailer. I've seen a good clip from this movie, and I want to say it's if I'm getting this correct here. Mark Hamill's in the movie. I know he's in the movie, and I saw a clip with him in the movie. And that's the main reason I want to see it. But the main reason that really compels me to see Mark Hamill in this movie is I want to say he's the main character's father, and he has a really good scene with the main character in this one clip I saw. It's like an isolated character. He's kind of talking about the stars. It's kind of a beautiful little scene. Assuming he's his father, I think that makes that scene even better. Point, I'm definitely enticed to see him. Just the mystery of what is this movie even about? Because it seems to be about kind of a real kitschy kind of TV show from back in the day that guy's obsessed with. Of course, I think we can all relate to it.
I have ideas of what it's based on, but
kind of vaguely Teddy Ruxpin looking, kind of what the Brigsby Bear is.
There's actually a creepypasta that's very similar to the setup of this movie, but I don't want to get into details because it bore the crap out of you.
Regardless, again, I was inching closer to watching that too, but again, I really just couldn't find it, to be honest. I would have squeezed it in if I had the resources to.
I'm pretty sure we've gone 1, 2, 3 movies. Just saying.
Yeah, but it was kind of, I don't know, maybe maybe with a heads up. I don't know. The point is I'll get to that at some point.
Okay.
All right, so just the context for my list, just really a 1 second context, and I guess is that, folks, just so you know, I applied to my ranking here. The movies I saw in 2017, none were, to me, offensively bad. None of the movies on my list to me.
I agree.
So none of the movies I saw this year, within the 40 that I've picked, were offensively bad. But my ranking, like the stuff that's towards the very bottom, I would say, like definitely kind of stuff within like the from 40 to 30. Those are it's kind of ranked from the stuff that disappointed me most. It's not stuff that offended me or like I thought was really like ostensibly bad. Just like let me down, or just kind of like it could have been a lot better. So that's kind of my ranking thing. Of course, it's really structured not to what objectively is best, just kind of what for me was my favorite. So.
All right, so I will go ahead and start screen sharing.
Okay, number 40. This was a TV movie, which I did include TV movies as well as documentaries and stream documentaries.
That's another thing we should probably mention, like the difference between your list and my list is that I generally didn't include documentaries. I generally didn't include TV movies. There's one exception from each of those categories on my list. So yours is a little bit more more liberal when it comes to that.
Exactly. I kind of included everything. So I include everything you fell under kind of the movie banner, which included, you have some directed videos, you have TV movies, and, because I have Netflix movies, I just kind of lumped that. Well, technically that's a TV, it's a TV streaming service.
Most of the Netflix movies I saw this year, I put in. So
basically, to me, like Netflix is high quality TV movies, and just maybe your average TV movie. So that's speaking of the average TV movie. So Psych the movie. Now, Tiki, I understand you've seen the show, and myself, I am a psych. We're both kind of psychos.
Where did you get that idea? I've never seen the show.
Oh, you haven't?
No,
I haven't
never.
seen it. I thought
Not
you said
once.
didn't you say you used to watch Psych or something to that effect?
My sister and her boyfriend used to watch Psych, but I was never really in on it.
Because you brought up Psych to me once that you'd seen a little bit of it. I guess
What? You're
TA.
thinking of someone else, dude. Like I said, like there was a period in time when my sister and her boyfriend were watching it, but I never even sat down and gave it a shot. So I don't know.
All right. Well, regardless, okay, fine, me alone. Then I had seen the show Psych. That's where I was first introduced to Timothy O. Munson, who of course we love from Gallivant.
Oh, I love that guy so much.
And the Timothy O. Munson, is.
Did you know that Timothy O. Munson is in a really weird, like very shitty looking live action Woody Woodpecker directed video?
Yes, I saw the trailer.
You saw that? Oh God!
It's kind of like the Tom Cavanaugh. He's in the Yogi Bear movie.
Oh no, is he? All right, well let's not get off track. Let's not get.
Okay, anyway, so
we have to focus this.
Right. So let's go by real fast. So it's like the movie. Basically, this was a TV movie that was kind of done. I remember this being hyped at Comic-Con. I probably brought it up to you then. Maybe you kind of said the thing about the sister then. I don't know. Maybe that's what I'm thinking of. So this was announced during Comic-Con, during one of the live shows. They had James Roday there, who plays Sean Spencer, and basically this thing just felt really unwarranted. That's really what I'm coming down on the movie. I watched it, just expecting just the similar quality of the show. It just felt really kind of like, hey, we're bringing it back, because the show ended not many years ago, so it hasn't been like 10 years or anything. It's been like I honestly I can't remember when the show ended. It's been less. It's no longer than 5 years have passed since the show's ended. I'll say that much. Anyway, so. It having watched, I think to anyone who's watched the show, it kind of disappointed me most, having watched the show and having been a fan of the show, just expecting kind of the same quality, just expecting something to kind of warrant the return. I didn't really get any of that out of it. And the biggest reason it's on here is that Timothy Munson was relegated to a really cheap cameo.
That hurts.
Because he was a main character and people loved Timothy Munson. He was like on like a phone, like a FaceTime phone call. That's the only way they got it. So just that really let me down. Just the whole movie just felt like they didn't feel like a movie event like they hyped it up at the Comic-Con. It just felt like it's like the movie is going to be great. It just felt like, okay, well it's not, again, it's not terrible. It's just like a very underwhelming.
All right,
it's the most underwhelming movie of 2017. So
okay. All right, and then my next selection. This is the big like so bad it's good movie for me. Number 40. Yeah. Valerian and the City of a Thousand Planets.
Which I've seen the first 5 minutes of, and I love the first 5 minutes.
Dragon, I had such a fun time in the theater with this movie, watching it with my dad, because my dad is like a huge Fifth Element fan, right? So he was stoked for this movie, judging by the trailers. And granted, I'll give you the first like 20 minutes or so. Like, yeah, the opening scene's great. The opening montage set to Space Oddity, that standalone is like really good. And then even like the first action scene is set in this like virtual reality marketplace in the desert, and it's really fun. But then Dragon, everything after that virtual reality marketplace, it's just like Dane DeHaan is so bad in this movie. I like Dane DeHaan a lot. I defend Dane DeHaan quite a bit, but he is so wildly miscast in this movie, Dragon. He's basically trying to be Tom Cruise in this movie, and it does not work. And the plot is just like a video game. There's so much CGI. There's really, really oddball bits of humor in it that just made my dad and I just crack up in a really unintentional kind of way. This, like, visually it's stunning. Visually, I'm sure Luc Besson put a lot of work into this, and all the visual effects artists and everything put a lot of work into this thing. And I quite enjoyed it, but I enjoyed it because it was such a mess that it was just like, oh my God, what am I watching? I can't keep my eyes off this thing. This is a fascinating train wreck.
Well, I remember an image that really stuck with me from that first 5 minutes. What ended on the one thing that kind of made me interested in seeing more. But again, I'm just kind of scared to watch it.
Oh, I'd still watch it. I'd still watch it.
Like I love the image of basically after all these aliens they come and visit. Basically, they've been adding onto a satellite that kind of creates this like 1,000 world kind of like station, kind of blast through space. Just kind of the structure built. It's
basically like New York City in the form of a space station. That's like the best way I can describe it.
That visual looks amazing to me. It looks fantastic. And here's something to kind of alleviate your your Dane DeHaan fear statement. Grant Morrison, one of the greatest writers of our time, he saw this movie, and he said Fat Man on Batman when he was doing like an interview at the Scum and Villainy Cantina with Kevin Smith and Mark Burns. By the way, that place looks awesome. By the way, I don't know if you remember seeing it or not.
Oh yeah, I totally want to make a point to go there one day when I'm in Southern California.
Oh yeah, I hear it's a cool place too. Anyway, Grant Morrison said that he loves Dane DeHaan as an actor. He was terrible in the movie.
Oh, he was awful. Just like I said, Dragon, this kid is trying to be Tom Cruise, and he's just so clearly not Tom. Tom
Cruise doesn't even want to be Tom
Cruise. Just look at him in this picture. He's got like the dopey Hawaiian shirt. He's got a dumb look on his face the whole movie.
You never want to try to be Tom. Tom Cruise doesn't even want to be Tom Cruise half the time.
Right. There's zero chemistry between these two lead characters. Zero chemistry, Dragon.
Well, I can see by how they're lovingly gazing into each other's eyes right now.
Right. Okay, so that's all I got. Just I know Jacob Gulliver really likes this movie from a technical point of view, and I can see why. And like I said, I had a fun time with it, but inherently it is a mess.
Well, again, Gulliver loves Troll 2, so.
Well, yeah, but he loves Troll 2 in the same way that we love The Room, so that's...
I know, I'm just that, yeah.
Okay, Dragon, going on, your number 39.
Okay. 39 for me is Teen Titans Judas Con.
Shoot, my bad. All
right.
Well, I just spoiled your 38, but...
Well, you didn't have to say the number just now. It could have been...
Okay.
Number 39.
All right.
Teen Titans Judas Contract. So this is a direct-to-video. One of the the DC anime films. They release 3. They usually try to release 3 a year, and this was I want to say the first or no, it was the second one they released this year. Anyway, so this is also the second in the Teen Titans animated franchise. Now this is I've said this before, just the DC animated original films, like that line of films, they're always they're at their best when they're adapting a source material just kind of straight up, like they don't have to worry about connecting it to anything else or kind of looking up to the present. And basically what the DC original anime films has done is that they have these line of continuity based films, basically them trying to replicate the New 52 by connecting things, by having recurring casts and just kind of having the same art style on the characters. Basically they're like the Justice League franchise would these Teen Titans spun out of that Justice League franchise, and that Justice League franchise, well, they did put together the universe a little better than the actual DCU had previously. It was not like a very good quality. But I'm saying that's how it showed you how to establish kind of a shared universe, but not in no way how to kind of enact a shared universe. Regardless, the point is that there was a low standard with this, and I kind of knew that going into it. So again, I knew what I was getting with this. The big problem, the wide solo here, almost was number 40, to be quite honest, because this, the story they're adapting here, here's the thing, they're adapting it, but they're still in that continuity. So obviously there's a conflict right there, you can imagine. They're adapting one of the definitive Teen Titans stories, one of the definitive new Teen Titans stories done by Marv Wolf, and this is like the series that gives us the good Teen Titans show, which we saw kind of referenced in the good Teen Titans show, with the Terror storyline. This is the big storyline where we have Terra betraying the Teen Titans, and she's working with Deathstroke. That's the big story. That's Judas Contract. He takes out the Judas Contract as like an assassin's contract. The point is, this thing's been built up ever since, and before this in-continuity line was established, way back, ever since the second movie was made in the DC original animated films, ever since New Frontier, like the second movie they did, they said, at some point we'd like to do Judas Contract, adapt that Teen Titans story and do like a PG-13, we can get away with it now. And it's been floated around. So the point is, this thing, when this was announced, is like, hey, even though it's going to be kind of done in this crappy framework, I mean, hey, it's still going to be finally done, but it was done in that crappy framework. So it's that was kind of that in itself was a bit of its undoing. It's really forgettable, aside from just some good action sequences. So it's very forgettable, even despite the fact that it has Kevin Smith in the movie as himself, which is fun, but does not save it any iota. Hello? Tiki? Sorry about that, folks. A little bit of difficulty there. But yeah, so Teen Titans U.S. Country, it's just something I really wish DC would just kind of like, well, with DC Rebirth going on now, I just feel they can get away from that in part. I just think they could. I don't know. I just honestly just wish I don't think I'm alone here. I just wish we would just do these straight up adaptations. That's where they're strongest at. Yeah, I kind of already said that, but it's just these in continuity films ever since Justice League War onward. All those films have just been kind of they've been adapting New 52 stories, but just they're kind of they're not improving upon them. That just seems to be there's always that they're holding themselves back with the fact that it has to be a Justice League movie. They're kind of being marketable before they're being good movies, good standalone pieces. They're like, hey, if you like this movie, and they're recasting people when they swore up and down they wouldn't recast their voices. So it just shows you they're really I don't think they're as confident in their own brand and basically get these Teen Titan movies made. What they're doing is because people love the Teen Titans. Unfortunately, there's a sect of people that love Teen Titans Go. So the point is Teen Titans as a name is valuable in the CW. Not the CW. TNT, I think. One of the networks is doing a live action Teen Titans show, which actually looks really good. So I mean, Teen Titans as a brand is always like something you could have a lot of fun with, but you gotta get a good basis. You shouldn't be kind of stymied by stuff you've done before. But yeah. So the in continuity line I've never been feeling, and I don't think I ever will be. And we have some choices down here again. The further you get away from it, I think the better off you are with the in continuity line. Yo. Okay.
All right. Are you still on Teen Titans?
No, I've wrapped. I've said all I need to on Teen Titans.
Okay. Cool. All right. Sorry about that. I just accidentally unplugged my modem. Sure. Okay, so getting back to it, my 39. We have to kind of pick up the pace after this, Dragon. Mine is crap. If it'll great. Now I'm having screen share issues. Give me one sec, Dragon. Oh shit! You've got to be kidding me. Okay, you know what? My 39's Daddy's Home too. I don't know what's up with the screen share because I'm not like. I'm clicking on the screen share, but it's not giving me the option. Oh, there it is. Okay. Sorry about that.
All right, so you're 39.
Okay. Daddy's Home 2. I'm just going to crack this out really, really quick, Dragon. I'm going to give you the elevator pitch for Daddy's Home 2. Okay. So Wahlberg, Farrell, Mel Gibson, John Lithgow, all four of them work really well off of each other. This is basically the same plot as Bad Moms 2, except the jokes are actually funny. Because Bad Moms 2, the thing is that they just really tried to go for gross out humor more than anything else. Whereas this one, the jokes are like just generally funny. I will say though, Dragon, I had a lot of fun with this movie. A lot of fun with it. It's a very disconnected movie. Like really, it's the kind of comedy where you could it's like a YouTube comedy, right? In the sense that you could watch all the clips out of order and still inherently get like basically the same movie out of it. It's a lot of vignettes. It's practically a sketch comedy movie with a very loose story, but it's a lot of fun. So what can I say? I had a ball with it, even though in the story department, it's really, there's not a lot.
Right.
So, okay, Dragon, and you're number 38.
Okay, number 38 for me is... Little film, and yeah, these folks have no idea what my number 38 is.
I know, right?
Wink, nudge, nudge. It's
big mystery.
It's Chips.
Dragon, you told me that you saw Chips like a couple nights ago, and I was like, "Oh, I'm so thrilled for you! You saw Chips. Now your movie list is complete."
And it was just as facetious, folks. It was just. Yep. So Chips. Look, not being invested in the IP as I'm sure like the fan base of Chips is. For me, it was just going into it just kind of blind without any expectations. Going into it, like basically as many expectations I had just watching the trailer. Like, I don't think
it's a good buddy cop movie though.
Yeah, there was, and this I came out of it. It was okay. Again, none of my movies were really ostensibly bad. Just with D'Onofrio was in the film, which was a surprise. D'Onofrio was decent in the movie. Again, didn't really. I'm saying, he was good in the movie, just didn't like help the movie at all.
Oh,
Michael Pena and Zach Shepard, I thought were a good pairing. What I liked in the movie, and the main reason I guess it's higher than the other two, is that, I like the arc of their friendship. I like how they do become, good friends, even though it's a rocky start. And it's just, again, it's some silliness, a lot of ridiculousness, here and there, and there are a lot of cheap jokes. But it's kind of like it's a harmless comedy, I feel.
okay.
Again, to the Chips fans, I extend sympathies because I assume it's just not. It would genuinely
Right.
offend them, but it's what it is.
I'm sure it was a better movie than Baywatch.
Yeah, I get a sense of that. I get a sense that it probably is received better than Baywatch.
Yeah, I do too. Okay. All right. That's short and sweet, Dragon. Okay. My number 38 is. Da, 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 da. Da, 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 da. I like this movie quite a bit, Dragon. I let me just say, I think it's far, far, far superior to Pirates 3 and Pirates 4. I think Pirates 3 and 4 are both just like nearly unwatchable. This was kind of a fun return to form for the franchise, I thought. The only problem is culturally, Dragon, people are so out on this series. It's ridiculous. I have never seen such unfair hate for a movie based on it just existing, Dragon. I don't know. Like, Javier Bardem is a fantastic villain, probably the second best villain in the series. The plot's not great, but it's got a lot of fun action set pieces to it, Dragon. There's one moment where Jack Sparrow's robbing a bank, right? But instead of actually robbing the bank, it's this really ridiculous set piece. You might have seen it in trailers where he's basically got like the whole bank building tethered to this giant rig. And so it's like this big chase scene like through town with the literal bank. I don't know. It's
I saw one scene from this. I saw the shark scene, the undead, basically they're all walking on water.
I do like the way that this movie incorporates the undead into it. It's a nice, interesting kind of riff on the Pirates lore. And I don't know, it's got some good adventure to it, Dragon. It did kind of take me back to the first two Pirates movies. And I know that not a ton of people are a fan of this franchise. And I know that Johnny Depp is like this close to being Kevin Spacey in his career. But what can I say? I enjoyed myself for what it was. I think this is easily far better than Pirates 3 and Pirates 4, at the very least. So, all right. And I gotta say, like, the early Pirates movies are some of my favorite adventure movies. And now you know what my number. Yeah. Oh well. I'm not doing a good job with the screen sharing, am I, Dragon?
Yeah.
Because this was actually supposed to be like a big reveal, because this is way high down. So
yeah.
All right. Well, pretend you didn't see that, kid. Pretend you never saw that. Oh, don't act like you know what I'm quoting. All right.
No, I'm not acting like I know what you're quoting. I'm just reacting to you spoiling your pick there.
All right. Number let's see. I believe we're on number 37 for you, Dragon.
Yes. 37. Okay. Yes.
37.
Yes, casting JonBenet.
This is one that I saw on Netflix, and I was just like, "Oh, that looks super uncomfortable."
Yeah, so here's the thing. It's a clever premise. See what they do with this one, Tiki. And again, the beginning is good. Again, just establishing the premise there is that it's kind of a creepy way of unfolding, unfolding kind of a not a biopic, but it's sort of like just basically let's say a documentary on JonBenet. It's kind of with kind of a theatrical element to it, and that basically people are auditioning to recreate the events. They're auditioning to basically portray a scene. They have a mock-up of the house. Basically, as they walk you through the event, you have various actors because you're unsure of like who the culprit is. If all the suspicions like did the parents do, did not do, was the brother, like all the classic stuff with JonBenet. Basically it's told through various kind of actresses like you see before you auditioning for JonBenet. It adds like this haunting quality. So I that choice is interesting.
Yeah, that's a little too creepy for me, Dragon.
That's the thing. That's interesting, and it adds kind of that unreliable kind of quality to it. It adds like the whodunit. But here's my problem with it. There's a reason it's so low on the list. And again, not bad. It got lost in the shuffle this year. I want to say it was this year that we had a lot of JonBenet stuff because I believe it's some sort of anniversary of it. All this JonBenet documentaries and like kind of investigations into the thing here. It just kind of got lost in like, yeah, there's some stuff that's been done better. Some people have done like kind of a bio series on it. I saw like kind of investigation, which kind of the results of that one seemed like the brother was the culprit in that. But the point is that it's like we'll never know. But the point is just kind of got lost in the scuffle. So that's where I'm at on it. Just it didn't impress me as much as some other stuff I've seen with John Bonet this year.
Okay.
But it's haunting. I'll give you that. It's haunting.
Yeah. All right, and now on to my 37. What could it be, Dragon? What could it possibly be? This is going to be a big reveal, too, because I'm sure you were going to get mad at this when you saw it.
Yep. Well, okay, give me a measure. Okay. Oh, what? Oh, but seriously, Tiki, come on.
Yeah, I'm one of the few people on the planet who was like really underwhelmed with Wonder Woman.
You couldn't have even put this at 30, really? You couldn't.
Oh no. There's a lot of other movies that are above it, man.
Oh, boys. Okay, tell the folks why. Go on.
This movie has a couple standalone really good moments in it. I think Chris Pine is probably the best element of it overall. Like his character works from beginning to end. Dragon, the ending of this movie drags it down so much. And I know you say it's unfair. Like, oh, Tiki, you can't judge a movie based on 2/3. Yes, I can. God damn it. Yes, I can. Like, if people are judging Rogue One based on a shitty first 2 acts, I'm going to judge Wonder Woman based on, like, a really, really shitty third act. Because, seriously, that third act of Wonder Woman was just awful. Just awful. The movie leading up to it was good. The movie leading up to it is good, but just that third act just really dropped it down for me, Dragon.
It's not even. It's like half of the third act. It's not even the whole third act. Come on.
Well, still, it just once Mr. Lord British Pants like rears his ugly head, it's pretty much all over. I would dare to say this might be like the second worst, like last act of a DCEU movie next to Suicide Squad.
I'm trying to think if Suicide Squad's ending was really that bad.
Well, remember Suicide Squad had like the belly dancing Enchantress and all that.
Yeah, but that was just like Enchantress was a lost cause at that point. It's like there's nothing really could have done to fix it. You're saying
Lord British Pants wasn't a lost cause?
I'm to the beginning of that is I'm just saying that when the fight happens, that's when it's starting to get like by the numbers. Like that's all I'm saying. Like when he's in the armor, that's the point where Lord British Pants. That's when he's
All right. So yeah, folks, I know, I'm a total asshole, and also I'm sure people are gonna call me a sexist pig for ranking it this low. But you know what? Film is subjective. Wonder Woman just didn't do it for me. Dragon, I very much think this was a classic case of like I was overhyped walking in, not just from Mark Andreyko, Dragon. I want to make that clear.
That's what I'm saying. You can't put it on
Mark Andreyko, all right?
You can't put it on Andreyko. He was excited, darn.
But he was really, really. I mean, he said it was like better than Christopher Reeve's Superman, which is
That's
like
because he loves Wonder Woman. It would be Christopher Reeve for him. Yes.
All right. So really, I mean, I think Wonder Woman to me was the biggest disappointment of 2017, but I know for like the vast majority of people, it's like beloved and in people's top 10s and whatnot. And that's great. Honestly, like I've kind of changed my outlook, Dragon. Like I've kind of the mindset where unless you're like one of the Star Wars trolls who's like actively trying to ruin the experience for other people. We'll get to that when we get to that.
Okay, we'll get there.
But unless you're one of those people, Dragon, really have whatever your opinion you want. You know, I just for me personally, Wonder Woman it really didn't do much for me. It really just kind of left me kind of high and dry. All right, and I am not going to reveal my next choice this time.
All right, number 30.
Hold on. All right, I didn't really factor in how time-consuming these switches would be. Okay, number 36.
Yes, number 36 was one of actually the last one I watched this year.
Right.
Well, I guess technically, I'm sorry, it's the second to last one I watched this year, but it was the last new one I saw this year. Mm-hmm. Bright on Netflix, which is getting a lot of buzz, let's say.
Yeah, Kyle Decker had a very, very hot take on it where I told you this, Dragon, where he was basically like, so I watched Bright, and after seeing Bright, I can tell that the editing was not the problem in Suicide Squad. Like, that's a very, very mean hot take right there.
Anyway, so Bright. So Bright. At the end of the day, Bright was different. I think the Max Landis writing shined in places. That was what really kept my attention in the movie. You know, I could see kind of the Max Landis stamp on it. I don't know how much of it was like kind of take it. Again, Max Landis always has a thing where, you know, he has like a really good script, a really good story, a really good pitch, but at times the adaptation of that will kind of get lost.
Right. He's famous for that.
So it's unclear how much. Like, I have no bearing like how much of that kind of got kind of lost in the process. But I could see the inklings of the Max Landis kind of writing stand. Basically, the premise reeks of Max Landis in a good way.
Mm-hmm.
So again, that kept my interest, and you know, I think David Ayer's kind of grasp on grittiness really shined in the movie as well. So I mean, again, it feels, it's kind of taking this wondrous premise, but kind of applying to a gritty LA world. So that's kind of that's an intriguing mixture. But here's at the end of the day where I'm at on this, and the reason it's this low on the list is that I think it gets really lost in the magical lore and the plot. Like there are elements that we're just kind of in the thick of it. We don't know like kind of what gets us to a world.
I gotta say, Dragon, that's probably the reason I haven't watched it yet. Is that I'm just really not a big D&D guy, and I imagine there's a lot of like deep cut D&D references.
Yeah, but honestly, for me, it's like there's like information that we kind of need, and it kind of shapes the plot. Basically, kind of like there's an LA cop story where orcs just seem to be kind of it has like some interesting commentary on kind of orcs as kind of the kind of the diversity hire, and that's fine. But at a point where basically when the Bright in question, Brights are like the magic users. That's kind of what the Bright. Basically all of our stuff with our villains. That's all the plot I'm talking about. The magical lords. Like,
it's a terrible title, by the way. I just want to point that out.
I'm saying that's the plot.
Title.
That's the plot point of the movie, though. Bright. They're called Bright.
No, I understand that. I understand that it's a plot point, Dragon. That doesn't make it not a terrible title.
Well, just the plot thing of them is basically all the villain stuff. That's where it's getting lost. That's where the movie kind of is kind of losing me there. All the stuff with the villains. We don't know anything about these guys. I don't know why I should care about these guys at all. So that's what kills the movie in that regard. But again, not an offensive movie. It's just like could have been refined definitely.
Okay. All right. This next one is going to go by super quick for me. Okay, number 36, Happy Death Day. It's Groundhog's Day, but a serial killer. I mean, that's really all you need to know. That's the elevator pitch. I had a lot more fun with this movie than I was expecting. I was expecting it to be kind of like a disposable horror movie, which it is to a certain extent. But I think, Dragon, this movie plays with the Groundhog Day premise so much where essentially the whole premise is that this girl is like reliving the day that she gets murdered over and over and over again. So much like Groundhog Day, you know, she's like kind of learning to adapt to everything as the film goes on. So really fun premise for a horror movie, even if it is just kind of riffing on Groundhog Day. And I enjoyed myself quite a bit. It's, you know, like I said, it's definitely not anything that's going to be like, oh my God, Happy Death Day. It was just like a game changer for the horror genre. But, you know, I do enjoy myself quite a bit. Like whenever I saw this on my list, Dragon, I kind of smiled. I was like, oh yeah, Happy Death Day. That was a fun time. All right. So let me hide it. Okay, number 35 for you, Dragon.
So number 35 would be Walt Disney's
Walt Disney's Bright.
Would be. You know, I might have to do something with that now. You bring it up, so we'll see. You might dug yourself a hole, little mister.
Oh no! Is it going to be like a really niche, like Pitch Bright as a Disney movie thing?
Might be. You never know. Anyway. So, Beauty and the Beast. Of course, Tiki already said I'm very surprised with Tiki on it. Just with Beauty and the Beast. At the end of the day, it doesn't surpass the original. There were a few sequences. There were a few sequences that were kind of fun to see in live action. Mainly, the Gaston sequence, probably one of my favorites in there. So you see that kind of realized in the live action.
You see, I even thought that was weak sauce, to tell you the truth, because they cut out some really good lines in that. They cut out the line about his body being covered in hair.
Yeah, but you know, I don't know. It's hard to explain. You're not wrong. It's just I don't know. Just there's like a charm to it that just kind of felt like this is like it's like I don't really.
And also, I don't really like the fact that with that song, it's mostly just Josh Gad singing to Luke Evans, and Luke Evans is kind of just like sitting there the whole time.
Yeah, no, it was just kind of like it's kind of a charm. That was just, it was kind of like a little fun little segment.
Yeah, it's funny, Jack, because I actually really like Be Our Guest, but I've heard a lot of people complain about Be Our Guest, so I guess it's just subjectivity.
Yeah, subjectivity, Stephen. That's what it is. It's of course there's some good casting. I think the two casting choices that impressed me most, Kevin Kline as Belle's father, was great as I had hoped for, and Josh Gad I thought was also really good again for the whole Gaston sequence as well. So again, that's basically we really didn't need it. It's just really pointless, but it was it had its moments.
Well, Dragon, we need it. You know why?
Oh, why, Tiki? Why do we need it?
Because we've got to have money.
God, yeah. So is that still like the highest grossing Disney movie this year, or is that changed?
I want to say it is the highest grossing Disney movie this year. Fucking sadly.
You mean Star Wars hasn't beaten it yet?
No, not yet. Not Star Wars had a pretty big drop off in its second weekend, so I don't know if it will beat it.
Oh man. Okay.
Yeah, I don't want to talk about.
All right. Okay. Number 34.
35.
Oh,
you might be pissed about this one, Dragon. I don't know. Batman versus Two-Face. Yeah.
Just they couldn't get it to 30. You couldn't just like.
Oh, God. Calm down, Dragon. I told you I was hesitant to put this on the list to begin with, and this is exactly why, buddy.
All right.
Because at the end of the day, this doesn't really feel like that much of a movie. We've already had this conversation. It feels like an episode of the TV show. And it doesn't strike the same chord that Return of the Cape Crusaders did, all right? It's still a lot of fun. I love William Shatner, and of course the line of the movie that I'll always quote is, the arrogance of you. And of course, just a great way to kind of say goodbye to Adam West. And Dragon, this was the hardest movie for me to watch this year, just for that factor alone. Because I told you, like, there was a point where I got to the last 10 minutes of the movie and I had to pause it because I was like, oh my God, this is like the last Adam West Batman we're ever going to get. I have to savor this. So it's a special movie for that reason, Dragon. But like I said, I couldn't put it much higher than that, just because unlike Return of the Cape Crusaders, this really just feels like an episode more than a movie. And we've already had that conversation, so I hold no shame, darn it. All right, number 34 for you, Dragon. Hold on, give me 1 second.
Number 34
I just want to say for the record, this is the one that makes me mad.
You mean for ranking it this low, or do you mean
yes, for ranking it, like specifically for like stuff that you have over this?
Like
Boss Baby over this, Dragon? Really? Fucking Boss Baby over Kong Skull Island?
Let me explain.
Okay.
So number 34 for me is Kong Skull Island. A lot of you, like my calm associate here, may be scratching your heads.
I mean, it's not in my top 20 or anything. We'll get to it soon on my list. I'm just saying, like, compared to some of the other stuff you have above it, Dragon, it's just not gelling for me.
But I'll tell you why. For me, again, like, even from the trailer, it's got a solid premise for a reintroduction of Kong. That's why I was really sold on the movie with. Like, okay, we're bringing back King Kong. We're gonna do what we're doing kind of differently. That's all really neat. We got John C. Reilly. We got some neat elements for this film. I think it's got a real good start. It's got a real good start. Again, like elements like John C. Reilly and Tom Hiddleston's character. They're grabbing me. I mean, the movie. But at the same time, it just, when I was watching the movie, it didn't impress me. It just kind of dragged a lot for me. I wasn't getting invested in it. Again, it's just my view on it. It's just the thing. I mean, the reason it's above Beauty and the Beast. I mean, it's kind of. I mean, I almost put it again. It was kind of warm between put Beauty and the Beast over this or not, because this, at least, it was doing something different, which of course Beauty and the Beast didn't really do.
Well, obviously, yeah.
So I'm saying, this strived to be different. Again, it looks great again in the setting, but again, it just feels like, okay, we're trying not to get killed on Skull Island, and again, Kong didn't really factor into his own movie enough for me.
I understand that.
That's the thing. I guess that's the biggest thing for me. When it really comes down to is that just Kong wasn't in his own movie enough. And however, here's the thing I really liked. That definitely kind of clinched over something like Beauty and the Beast. Kind of clinched it over all the other choices. That I really love the post credits setup scene. I really love the post credits scene. which again the setup for Monster Island, with all of them. It's such a great build up and everything. Plus, I hope they were going to do a thing where Tom Hiddleston, everyone's like they're older if we keep them cast and they're going to get older. I hope they just use them, allow them to get old with makeup, but they could always get older actors. I don't know.
Or they could always just set it in like the 80s or something.
Well, it would have to be. Yeah, I guess the latest it would have to be in the 80s. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess
I'm thinking they'll do.
I never consider. I think you're right. Yeah, I probably would have. They probably could just set in the 80s. Anyway, I'm just thinking of the Godzilla. I don't know what time Godzilla was set in.
Uh-huh. Anyway, well, Dragon, I've got a lot to say about this movie. Like I said, it's definitely not in my top 20 or anything, but I'll save my thoughts on it for when we get to it on my list.
So it's just like I watched the other show, it just didn't grab me, but it's just me. So all right.
Yeah, I hear you. And like I said, it's certainly not a masterwork or anything like that.
And again, folks,
I did it again. Shit. Sorry.
And again, folks, these movies, again, I'm not saying it's a bad movie by any stretch. I'm just saying these movies I kind of personally they're in descending order of how they kind of like ranked for me. Like if they disappoint me or like didn't live up to my expectations. So again, not bad by any stretch. Just,
Gotcha.
Yeah. So your number 34?
Yeah, my number 34. Is Lost City of Z, which is a movie I'm sure you've never even heard of, right?
Not one iota.
I mean, outside of me just putting it on the list of stuff that I was going to talk about.
I remember you saying a movie that ended in Z. That's all I got in this
movie. Brad Jones actually really loved this movie, and he did it during a midnight screening, and that's kind of like the only reason I went to the theater to see it. This is a very like old Hollywood style movie, which I definitely think is why Brad Jones dug it so much. It's definitely got the feeling of something like The Godfather or something. You know what I mean? Where it's like it's got this really epic scope to it. It's all about Charlie Hunnam, who's like basically it's kind of complicated plot. I don't really want to bore you with all the details, but essentially Charlie Hunnam gets hired to do basically like a mapping survey. And through that mapping survey, he discovers this lost city and it kind of starts to consume his life. And the film goes over a large chunk of time, Dragon, a huge chunk of time. Very Godfather Part 2-esque in that way. Like where we see Charlie Hunnam as like a bright-eyed young man to like a, to just like a near senile old man, like bent on obsession. The only thing that drags this movie down for me, Dragon, is the pace. I mean, it's really like, it really drags. I mean, the transformation that Charlie Hunnam goes through in this movie is great. And Robert Pattinson is also really good at it. And also Tom Holland plays Charlie Hunnam's son, too. And Tom Holland does a good job. It really drags just the pacing of this. The pacing of this it's like I could never see I enjoyed myself watching it. And I was impressed with the scope of it. I was impressed with the ambition. I could never see myself rewatching this movie, though. This is like the antithesis of a rewatchable movie. And other people might not feel the same way. I'm sure Brad Jones would just love to marathon this thing at a party or something, but for me, really, it's just like it's so long, it's really drawn out, and so in spite of me liking it quite a bit, just it's the rewatch factor that really kind of keeps it from the top 30. So all right. Dragon, your number 33, which I've already accidentally spoiled, but hopefully people weren't paying attention.
Yes, my number 33 is Justice League Dark. So
you mean that new Guillermo del Toro movie?
Oh, Tilly. Don't be silly.
All right. Go ahead.
Del Toro's still working on it. That means it won't be done for another 20 years.
Yeah, just like the Haunted Mansion.
Anyway, he and James Cameron, they're on vacation together, just having a grand old time. Says, "Oh, we don't need to make movies." Yeah,
but at least Guillermo del Toro actually works, though, Dragon. That's the difference between the two of them.
I'm just imagining
Guillermo del Toro makes movies.
I'm just imagining that, Del Toro, he and I was picturing he and James Cameron going on the Haunted Mansion ride and just having a grand, just laughing their heads off, saying, "Oh yeah, you should be doing doing your movie."
No. It's like okay, so Guillermo del Toro and James Cameron go through the Haunted Mansion, and then they go to Animal Kingdom to go to the Avatar land.
That's what I'm saying. Like, well, we should go to your ride. You should go to the ride, the movie you're supposed to do next. Yeah. Just skipping along, having a grand old time. La di da di da.
Dragon, just James Cameron and Guillermo del Toro's adventures in Disney World. Now that sounds like a side podcast I'd like to do.
In all seriousness, seriously though,
Yeah.
Justice League Dark was another direct-to-video release, and this is the best example of something set in the in-continuity line, where they smartly tried to avoid being connected to the Justice League as much as they could, because Justice League is just like an early framing device, and aside from Batman, that's really the only connection you have to that. It's again, that's the in-continuity thing. Always kind of gets under my skin. Always just kind of, I think, holds them back. But I already went through all of that with Teen Titans. But the point is, it's an example of a good movie in that case. It's a good taste of what a Justice League Dark movie would be like on the big screen. Yeah, it's kind of a taste of basically your eclectic characters in the DC.
So kind of like how Arkham was a good taste of Suicide Squad.
Yeah. This is a serviceable example of what that book is, what that team of kind of the eclectic, mystical, magical, supernatural. Well, supernatural is the simple way, but the eclectic supernatural characters in the DC universe. You also get Swamp Thing. He's in the background there. Of course, again, as I said, even when we were talking about another DC original animated film that came out this year, again, Swamp Thing is awesome, man. There's more Swamp Thing, and basically this and the other movie.
By the way, that's another thing that I was pissed got in over Kong Skull Island, Dragon. But we'll get that movie to me wasn't even worth putting on the list. All right.
Well, again, Swamp Thing is another reason. This is definitely on there, because again, the Swamp Thing is give me more Swamp Thing. It shows at the end of the day, it shows promise. It just doesn't sing for me. Again, it could be it's good, but it could be better. And also it's not as memorable as it could have been. It just feels like, again, it gets kind of lost in that kind of in continuity line scuffle. But you take that out of the equation, if you just made a standalone piece, I think it could have shined more. So again, it's fine. It's a fine film.
Right. Fair enough.
I'd recommend it to anyone.
Oh, Dragon, you're going to be pissed at all three of my next ones. Oh God.
I really hope it's not the one I think it's going to be.
No, but I think the one that I think you think it's going to be is coming up. It's coming up, Dragon. It's coming up. It's not this pick, but
we're being so inside baseball for the folks.
Right. Okay, so number 33 on my end. Oh God, I don't even want to fucking show it. Oh. Yep. Lego.
That's not the one I was thinking of, but ouch, man.
Okay, so here's the thing. From the get-go, Dragon, from the first time I saw this, I wasn't in love with it like I wanted to be. This is a very, very, reference joke-heavy movie. And I feel like this is kind of like the polar opposite of Lost City of Z, where it's got, it's very rewatchable, but it doesn't have a ton of substance in it. Don't get me wrong, there's some good character stuff in there, especially the Batman and Joker stuff. I don't know. At the end of the day, though, I feel like this movie is way better than Lego Ninjago, for sure. Way better, but it still kind of suffers that same thing that Lego Ninjago had of, there's certain times where I just wish that the movie would just breathe a little, but the movie's, so fast-paced and has to throw, so many things at you. I don't know, Dragon. It's, like I said, I understand
it handles that better than Ninjago. It does handle
it handles it way better, yeah, but it's still present, though. It's still, like the Lego movie had a kinetic energy to it, but the Lego movie, there's something about the original Lego movie where you were just able to kind of marinate in that world a little bit more. You know what I mean? Just kind of take in the scenery a little bit more.
Yeah, I got you.
And Lego Batman, it's really good. It's really good. It's barely outside of the top 30 for me. I don't know. I'm not a big fan of the Will Arnett Batman shtick, I've got to be honest. Kind of the whole, I think a problem with me in this movie is that the fear of the Will Arnett Lego Batman not being able to hold a whole movie. Like, I think the side characters kind of hold up this movie, like, like Batgirl and Joker and Robin, they kind of hold up the movie. And Will Arnett Batman, he isn't bad at all, but just like, I feel like without the side characters, his Batman would, it's very thin compared to other versions, obviously. All right. And that's all I got. And just be prepared to be more and more pissed off as we go along.
I have a feeling, again, I think the one I'm thinking of, again, more Inside Base.
It's coming. It's coming, Dragon. It's coming.
Folks in the stands of the Inside Baseball, get your hot dogs while you can right now. Yes. Get your Cracker Jacks, your hot dogs, get all that stuff while you're in the Inside Baseball stands. Okay, anyway, so my number 32.
32, yeah.
Is Boss Baby.
So why this over Kong? Seriously.
Okay, so my number 32, Boss Baby. It's this movie. It pleasantly surprised me in places. I went into this movie and expect not to like it. I really did. It was directed by Tom McGrath. And Tom McGrath, he's the director of Megamind, the Madagascar films. So he's got again, Megamind being I freaking love Megamind. But Tom McGrath, again, I remember I was given the first trailer a shot, but then it was like, okay, it's not really winning me over, and I just kind of wrote it off. And eventually, I was able. It was always like give it a chance space, and I finally kind of waned. It's like, all right, okay, I guess I'm not really hearing good things. I'll give it a watch. I gave it a watch, and again, it played to kind of a Tom McGrath film that had humor, it had heart in it, but the thing that holds it back, keeps it like below the 30s here. Below 30 is it is kind of there are a lot of baby cliches, a lot of baby humor, a lot of kind of cheap baby cliches and humor in the movie, which is unavoidable.
Oh, 90s kids have never seen baby jokes before, have we?
That's what I'm saying. So, I mean, it's combating a lot of that, but I mean, it's a fun movie. It's a lot better than I thought it was going to be. It didn't really let me down like Kong did. That's the main reason it's over Kong. Because again, Kong, I wanted King Kong to be a focus in the movie instead of just being like,
yeah, we'll get to Kong when we get to it.
That's what I'm saying. Where this one again, it was it kept my attention, some humor there. I thought Alec Baldwin was good in the role. What I really liked, and the main reason it's that this is the one that clinches it above, I guess, Kong in a way, is that I love. There's a scene in Boss Baby I really love. I love the ending where basically a letter. The main character writes a letter to to the Boss Baby in question.
Okay, you see, just that right there, that sentence, Dragon. The main character writes a letter to the Boss Baby.
I'm saying it for the layman's, all right?
All right. I'm sorry. I'm being a jerk. Go ahead.
I'm pretty sure the kid's name's Timothy, but
I think so. Yeah.
Timothy's writing. The letter's being written. The point is, he gets so emotionally invested, and it's a real heartfelt scene of him just kind of returning home. It's a really sweet climax, really good ending, because the very ending where it's kind of the next generation of this movie kind of going on. It was a pleasant surprise. That's what Boss Baby was. Again, it surprised me in a good way. So.
All right.
Yeah.
Oh boy. I'm not ready for this, Dragon. Oh, God. Okay, my number 32. There it is.
Oh.
There it is.
Yeah, that's the one I was thinking of. That's the one. Oh, man. 32, really?
Spider-Man Homecoming was the biggest disappointment of the year for me, and it's also the movie that I felt the biggest disconnect from the general audience over. Because the general audience loves the ever-living shit out of this movie. The general audiences think this is the best Spider-Man movie ever made. And Dragon, I'm not going to just poo-poo this movie because people think it's better than Spider-Man 2. Wrongly think it's better than Spider-Man 2. I'm poo-pooing this movie because it's got practically no substance to it outside of I almost called him the Joker, outside of the Vulture. The man-to-man talk in this movie is fantastic, right? And that's really the only scene that kind of elevates it beyond that. I mean, there's a couple standout moments. There's a scene where he's buried in the rubble, which is, of course, a callback to an iconic comic book moment. I don't know. I hated the way this movie was marketed, and I've got to admit the way this movie was marketed definitely played a role in me not really being over the moon about it.
Well, to be fair, Spider-Man is notorious for never having good marketing.
Well, Spider-Man, like the original Raimi movies, had good marketing. It's just ever since the Amazing movies.
I can't really remember the marketing aside from well, again, Spider-Man 3 had. I don't even know if it was like if anything was really special about the marketing, but was it? Okay, I'm sorry. You're right. Just the Amazing Spider-Man, all that bad marketing. Keep going.
And really, Dragon, really fundamentally, the thing that pisses me off about this movie is that it barely even feels like Spider-Man to me because of all the fucking technology. Like, I really don't like, I'm not a big fan of the Iron Man Spider-Man suit at all. I don't give a shit what charming voice actress you have voicing it. To me, that's almost a betrayal of the character to me. The fact that Spider-Man is just gifted this suit that can do everything and he just doesn't have to work for it. And I get, don't even start with me. I get that the whole arc of the movie that they completely spoiled in the trailers is that he has to learn to do things by himself. I get that. I understand that. But a vast majority of this movie's runtime, it didn't feel like Spider-Man to me. Yeah, it felt like a good John Hughes movie, Dragon, but you know what? Like, it kind of baffles me that people love the John Hughesian quality of this movie, and yet the Amazing Spider-Man movies are so maligned. Because don't get me wrong, this is a way better movie than either of the Amazing Spider-Man movies. Don't get me wrong. But having said that, like, I mean, you know, there is a John Hughes vibe to the Amazing Spider-Man movies. Like, this movie wasn't a game changer when it came to that. The only game changer is that it had, like, you know, it actually had kids who looked like they were in high school. And granted, that's very cool to see. But I don't know, Dragon. It's like, to me personally, as someone who's kind of like a really, like, I'm a big purist when it comes to the Raimi Spider-Man movies. At this point in my life, I'm going to be shocked if there's a Spider-Man movie that, like, hits me on the same level that Spider-Man 2 did. But really, I don't know. Homecoming, like, I realize that a lot of people love it, and that's great. However, I'm going to be an asshole and say if you think that Spider-Man Homecoming is better than Spider-Man 2, you are objectively wrong. So yeah, I don't know, it's way too much comedy for me, Dragon. And Spider-Man's a tricky thing where it's like, I realize that he is an inherently, I don't know, like, you get what I'm saying, right? We've had this conversation ad nauseum the whole year, so this isn't anything new I'm telling you about my opinions.
Yeah.
All right. Let's just move on and forget this ever happened. Okie.
Okay, number 31.
You're not going to be happy with my number 31 either. I'll tell you that much. Okay.
Number 31 for me would have to be Lego Ninjago.
Really?
So I'll admit, in retrospect, I mean, I was kind of flip-flopping between Boss Baby and Lego Ninjago. In retrospect, okay. I don't know, Is this a situation where I talked so much crap about it before you saw it that it actually exceeded your expectations? What? Oh,
because I was really down on this movie when I first saw it, Dragon. It is my worst movie of the year, so
I guess I just kind of went into it blind, just kind of seeing it just kind of went into it without that expectation in mind. I don't know. I guess I just kind of wrote. I guess I wrote you off. The time has passed, folks. I guess I wrote them off. Just kind of went into it, just went into it blind. Anyways, so again, bear in mind, I could probably flip this with Boss Baby in retrospect, but you know, just going with the reason I put it over it, I guess, is that Lego Ninjago, I'm echoing exactly what Tiki said. I agree with him essentially full-heartedly here, where it's not even the weakest of the Lego films, but you know, weakest comparatively, still it's an okay film. It's okay. It's a father-son story is really solid. That's where all the good stuff in the movie is, most definitely. I'm sure fans of the show, who I saw this with, they kind of spell out all the ins and outs of it. So I'm sure, based on that, I'm sure, the fans of the Ninjago property, they're not wowed by it. I think they're okay with it. They're not
wowed by it because, as far as I know, the whole thing is essentially a reboot of the TV show.
Exactly. So it's they're definitely by no means wowed by it. It's like, hey, it made it into the big screen. There are differences. And I'm sure they're all just going to wish it was as good as the Lego movie. Just the end of the day, it could have been better, but it was just kind of cool to see. I don't know. Again, I just always saw my father-son story, and it was well represented in the final movie I saw. But there's a lot of it's a lot of weak stuff.
There's one thing that really would have made this movie for me if they went in this direction, Dragon, and I'm disappointed that they didn't. I really wanted this movie to essentially be Lego set pieces outdoors in like a garden or something.
That might have been interesting. You're not wrong. We have with elements like the cat, for example.
Right. And with the cat, it's like I don't even know how to feel about that because it feels a bit too much just like a meme. Like, oh, we got a cute kitty, but he's a villain. Ooh.
Well, yeah, we've been seeding in cats ever since the Lego movie. Again, like the importance of cats within the Lego.
That's true. That's true. Yeah.
So look. Regardless, I mean, again, I don't know. I think technically, Boss Baby would probably be. I probably had a better time. Again, just that was like a Tom McGrath film that just kind of felt like it against like Tom McGrath kind of writing and directing style, but with directing style. I don't even know if you wrote that movie or not, but. And I don't know. Enjoy it was just the fact it was like you're in the Lego universe, having a good time with it, and then again, just the Justin Theroux, it was and Justin Theroux and Dave Franco, they had some good chemistry, and it's it was a fun story. So yeah, just Ninjago was harmless fun, and it just it was still in the Lego vein, so I liked it.
Okay. All right, Dragon, before we get to my my number 31, I just want to point out that basically every movie from the basically like 31 to 21 are kind of like all really good movies. And then, like, essentially all of my top 20 is, like, really, really great movies that could essentially be interchangeable with each other. Like, all of my top 20 would be at home at the top of this list, honestly. So I just want to point that out. Like, we're getting to the point where everything on this list is very good, and I like it a lot, all right? Just want to make that disclaimer. It's just an element of – this is a very good year in cinema, so there's a lot of competition. All right, number 31.
Yeah.
Captain Underpants.
Okay.
I thought you'd be more pissed about that.
I'm just saying after you gave it like a little disclaimer, they felt
okay. Yeah.
So so you're saying it's just basically it's down there because of all the other stuff.
Exactly, and like I said, there's some stuff that you don't like as much as I do. I think Kong kind of being the big thing that we're disagreeing with on this list. But Captain Underpants is a lot of fun. I think it's about as good as a Captain Underpants movie could have been, given the circumstances. I love the Flip-O-Rama. I went nuts for that in the theater, Dragon.
Of course, just for the folks out there, we have deep nostalgic ties to Captain Underpants and the Scholastic Book Fair, as always.
Yes, the Scholastic Book Fair. Yes, any chance we have to bring that up. It was just really like Captain Underpants is essentially kind of like what Lego Movie did for Legos, Captain Underpants did for Captain Underpants, which is a ridiculous sentence, but God damn it, I'm going with it.
One could say the Underpantheon.
Dragon, really the only reason this movie is not higher on the list is because it's a very entertaining, very fun movie, but it's also very breezy, and it doesn't really have a lot of drama to it at all. And I know it's not that type of movie at all, so I guess that's a little unfair. But it's just other movies on this list just kind of hit me harder. That's really all there is to say. But there was a brief window that this was my favorite movie of the year so far when I first saw it. So, like I said, folks, there's going to be a lot of movies up here that at one point were my best of the year. I'll point them out as we get through them.
I don't know. I hope some of these horror films you have coming up will justify their ranking. Because aside from that, I'm just thinking maybe Captain Underpants should be higher.
Okay, well, it is going to justify its ranking. I
know that. I'm just saying some other the lower level one, the ones that seem a little lower level in that ranking. I have no bearing on how good they were. So I'm just wondering if they're going to justify their ranking opposed to something we know is really good, like Captain Underpants.
Mm-hmm. I'll try.
So we'll see.
I'll certainly try.
All right. So the 30. So it's 30 for me, right?
Yes, number 30. All right.
Number 30, the big, fearful 30 of every man entering his 30s. So.
Yes, thank you, Dragon, because I'm like 2 years away from that. Thank you for the reminder. That's pleasant. Oh. Anyways, number 30.
Okay, anyway. 30.
Oh, wow.
Split.
Okay, Dragon, that's interesting because you and I actually have the same number 30, I just realized.
Oh, really?
My number 30 is also split, yes. So we can kind of crack this out in a double.
What do you know? Okay, so yes, we just both kind of talked about. Okay,
Yeah,
well,
yeah.
okay, well, for me, I guess, for me, the McAvoy performance is great, and the reveal, of course, the ultimate,
I still can't believe you went that long without knowing that this was connected to Unbreakable.
Yes. Well, spoiler alert. Yes.
Oh, everyone who cares knows already. Come on.
Yeah, and, that's a clever way of kind of working Unbreakable and building up this movie. I think they're calling it just Mr. Glass, right? That's the movie they're doing.
I think it's just called Glass.
Yeah, they're doing this one. I'm looking more forward to Glass. 2019. I think that's coming out. I'm looking forward to Glass just based on the fact we're kind of bringing back, because I've seen Unbreakable, and this basically kind of giving new life to that old that good Shyamalan films. Shyamalan's doing well for himself this year with Split, I feel.
This was a huge Shyamalan comeback. I mean, I really liked The Visit too. Like The Visit and this are both really, really good, to tell you the truth.
I will say this: the reason I kind of put it 30, and the reason it's probably here's the thing. Aside from, well, for me, it's like I feel it's kind of turned into a fad. Is that a fair statement? It's kind of turned to, like, Split was like it started this year, just kind of starting to fade, kind of from things.
No, it's funny. I actually have the exact same thing, because it's like a January release, and I think technically this is a 2016 movie because it came out in festivals in 2016.
Yeah.
And Drake, I can't tell you, I always have the hardest time when it comes to those movies and how to rank them. So I completely hear you on that.
Honestly, for me, it's just it's like it's a quality piece. There's no dispute about it. It's a quality piece, but there's just not a lot of state. It's basically like the event happened. Okay, McAvoy, he dazzled in the performance, and it was a great performance. And again, the opening movies, the thing that sticks with me most, the opening where he kind of shows up and he's kind of not takes out the father. He takes out the father and just kidnaps the girls. Right?
Yeah, it's an upsetting opening. It's straight up upsetting in a.
So that's the thing, but I'm saying, aside from that performance, I mean, the girls aren't really as, I mean, no, they're not bad in the movies, just they're not as memorable as that element, and just kind of because of that, there's not a lot of stay power. But again, it was a good movie. Just it doesn't really anything else in the movie doesn't really stick with you aside from the big talk.
I really feel like the big revelation is kind of like the thing that kind of propped this movie up for a lot of people.
Yeah, like, it's not overhyped, but it's like, again, it's just kind of it just feels like a fad. That's the best way I could put it, in a good way. It's like it's a good version of a fad that is kind of it's still murmured around.
Oh, I hear you. Okay, so Dragon, I think at this point I'll just go to my 29 and we'll alternate from there. Okay, so let me.
We're on the right one, aren't we?
Yes, 29. Okay, I'll just quickly get my thoughts on this film out here, because we've already been talking about it quite a bit. I like this film a lot, and I agree with you that Kong could be in it more. But what I really dig about this film, Dragon, is the Vietnam element of it.
And that's great.
Right. Like, to me, the Vietnam element of it kind of elevated it for me, maybe more than it did for you, because I just thought all the shots of Kong at sunset are just impeccably beautiful. Like, some of the flat out best imagery that we've gotten on film all year.
And you're right.
I love the scale of Kong in this movie. I love that Samuel Jackson is a villain whose motivation makes zero fucking sense, right? Yeah, like zero sense.
And that's kind of weighing me a little bit there. Yeah.
You know what? It's fun though. It's fun for me, because me and my dad were watching it at home and kind of just riffing on that.
I mean, he literally goes from like, we gotta save this one guy, and then, well, no, he's dead. Well, we're still gonna get those weapons.
No, I know, it's fucking ridiculous. But Sam Jackson, to me, like I said, especially because he's just hamming it up so much as Sam Jackson, He's just like, I am gonna kill that 30-pound gorilla. It's just, Sam Jackson's like so convinced that he can take down this entire fucking thing. I think so that track. I love John C. Reilly in this movie. John C. Reilly is just like the heart and soul of this movie. I think my favorite scene in the whole film is the credit scene where he comes back home.
Yeah,
and
that's
home video footage.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so good. There's a lot of stuff to like about this film for me, Dragon. I agree with you that as a whole, it's not a perfect movie by any stretch. That's why it's in my 20s and not my, that's why it's in my 20s and not in my top 20. But overall, I definitely think there's more things to like about this than there's things to not like about it. And Dragon, maybe I think Dragon. I think something that a factor for me that's not a factor for you, and why I ended up liking this one so much, is that this is almost kind of like the antithesis of Godzilla 2014.
Yeah, that's kind of the fun. I don't want to set you off with it, but here's the thing: it's kind of like a fun, silly reversal of our experience with it. Because I kind of had a better time with Godzilla than I did with this.
Yeah, don't even get me started, because I think this is a way better movie than Godzilla.
And I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just just showing you there's a flipping opinion. I guess it's kind of it's a sensibility thing. I don't know.
Sure. Like I said, it's all the Vietnam stuff just really did it for
me. I agree with all the good stuff you're saying there. I just don't think there was enough of it, I guess.
All right, fair enough. We'll just have to agree to disagree, I guess. Okie dokie. All right.
I believe there's a song about that in Gallivant.
I need to rewatch Gallivant. Is it still on?
Let's agree to disagree. Anyway.
Is it still on Netflix?
Yes, it is. Well, last time I checked, yeah.
Right. So let's see. We're on your number 29, right, Dragon?
Yes, my number 29. So this was the last movie I saw this year.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yes, because it was on basically that's the one I needed to add to kind of add the 40 to the list. So
okay.
It was Bright. Bright was the last release, and then this was the last one to watch. So John Wick Chapter 2. So I finally got around to watching the first John Wick so I could watch this. That's the main reason it took me so long. Because, every time I wanted to watch John Wick, it was like on TV with all the good stuff cut out. So I had to eventually find it, the actual honestly, this rated R version. So then I was able to watch this. So John Wick 2, one, I really liked the first. I liked the first one. I'm not over the moon, obviously. I enjoyed the first one very much. Mm-hmm. Sequel, it's fun exploring that world again. That's the thing that really got me into John Wick. And honestly, from what I heard, they're really not alone in kind of enjoying the world. The world's been
no, not at all. That's the big thing that I hear everyone kind of go on.
Yeah, because last I heard,
it doesn't really resonate with me as much. But again, that's kind of the beauty of film. It's all subjective, right?
Yeah, and the last thing I heard is that they're doing a prequel series about the main set piece of the world building here, which is this place called the Continental. It basically is kind of like it's a hotel. It's a wonderful little hotel for kind of mercenaries, and mainly it's assassins. I'm assuming mercenaries would also be welcome. Assassins, high-end assassins, are welcome at
Wouldn't it be great if they made a John Wick Deadpool crossover?
That would be amazing. And honestly, at the end of the day, that's what I really like about John Wick. The Continental setup is very much like what we got a glimpse of in Deadpool, but we have a low-end version of in Deadpool with Hell House, with Sister Mary Margaret, the mercenary, the bar that Weasel tends. That essentially is the high-end version of that is what we see in the Continental. And that's what really grabs about John Wick, just seeing kind of that mercenary assassin world display, but also the simplicity of the first one. So going on to the second one, we get more of that world explored, the Continental. We get a little more global with it, and it's fun. Ian McShane, he's the leader of the Continental. He's in there. He's good. But the problem with 2 for me, and the reason it's not higher on the list, is that it's a good movie. It's a solid continuation, but the problem is it kind of does almost like a Taken thing, in that it recycles a lot of elements. It recycles elements from the first one that we're kind of doing some stuff again, not the same exact stuff. It just feels like, we're kind of doing the stuff that we like. It's very, very on the nose. Stuff that people like in the first John Wick movie. We're trying to cash in on it. What I like, they don't do nearly enough, but they do they really need to play with John Wick's nickname is the Boogeyman. And what they did more in this movie is they play up the scariness of him more, like as a boogeyman. They always build up the legend of John Wick, which I also like that. In this one, they kind of play up the scariness a little bit more. In the end, it doesn't surpass the original for me, and it shows. And that's the problem. It's not the fact it doesn't surpass the original. The problem is it shows that it really doesn't surpass the original. It shows we're kind of dragging another.
It's funny, Dragon. I've heard very similar things with Kingsman. So we'll get to that when we get to that on your list. But
we'll get to the last thing is Lawrence Fishburne's in the movie, and he's good in the movie. Fishburne, he delivers.
Oh, he's always good.
Yeah. Okay, so that's all. Yeah.
Okay, so my number 28.
Yes, number 28. Number 28. 28.
Okay. Battle of the Sexes. All right, so Dragon, I honestly think this movie's right up your alley. I think you dig it.
Yeah.
Especially Steve Carell's character, because Steve Carell's character is so over the top and ridiculous, and he's such a self-promoter. He's doing all these ridiculous gimmick tennis matches. One of them, he's little Bo Peep, and he's got a bunch of sheep on the tennis court, and he's smacking the ball with the. It's so
the craw.
Yeah, with the craw. Yeah. This movie is it's a lot of fun, man. It really is. It's directed by the same people who did Little Miss Sunshine, and you can kind of tell that. Yeah, you can kind of tell that same sort of sensibility is here. You know what I mean? That kind of like that light and breezy, but with an undercurrent of drama.
I always think of that scene with Cranston and Kinnear from Little Miss Sunshine. Every time I hear that now, I keep thinking of that pool scene. Now we keep going.
Yeah, it's got a really good subplot with Billie Jean King kind of discovering her sexuality. Spoiler alert, she's a lesbian. But, you know, I digress. It's handled very well. And like I said, the main thing is really, like, Steve Carell's performance is, like, it's not going to win him an Oscar or anything, Dragon, but this character, Bobby Riggs, is so fun. Like I said, he's such a boisterous showman. You know, I think when you watch the movie, you'll really fall in love with Steve Carell's character.
I don't know what it is, but I tell you, looking at this image here, Emma Stone looks really interesting in this movie. That is Emma Stone in the image.
Yeah, it's right? Emma Stone. Yeah, and she definitely transforms herself for this for sure. Yeah. Emma Stone is very, very vulnerable in this movie because she's basically playing someone who. Yeah, she's basically playing a character who's like, you know, beloved by the world, but who's very unconfident about herself. And so, yeah, I think you'd like this one quite a bit, Dragon. You should really seek it out when it comes on demand or something.
Okay.
Alrighty. Okay, and let's see. So you're number 28, right?
Yes, my number 28. So my number 28.
Okay.
Would be.
Okay.
Of course, would be.
Let's do it. Let's fucking do this.
I'll give you a hint. It's a Batman movie. But it's not only a Batman movie.
You've got some splaining to do. Yeah, yes, I had to use that image to spite you, Dragon.
That's Tiki. That's not sporting right there. Anyway.
I don't understand how this is this high for you, Dragon. I don't understand. I can't understand. Is it just because of the animated series nostalgia? Are you just riding the nostalgia fumes?
Would you like me to tell you? Would you like to speculate?
Yes, go ahead.
So, of course, the Batman Harley Quinn. Honestly, this movie this year is one of the movies I had like a lot of expectation for. And, you know, it was really hyped in my mind for because this is supposed to be a dual 25-year tribute to not only Batman the animated series, but of course what spawned out of Batman the animated series being the character Harley Quinn. So, it definitely, and the main thing Tika's going to break me with the goals for here is it falters memorably. It does. Like, let's just, without getting into it, let's just say a scene that is kind of alluded to right before us here. Basically, the road trip section of this, for the most part, is really bad. Just for the most, I'm saying with it, I guess the ending of the road trip stuff's where it picks up again. All the stuff on the way, it's bad. But aside from that. Yeah, like the start of this, the start's really solid. It's kind of getting you into the old headspace in the animated series. Again, it's kind of it brought everyone back. You know, Lauren Lesser hasn't been Robin in God knows how many years. Melissa Rauch, she's a serviceable Harley Quinn. She was fine in the role. And again, she kind of surprised me. And she brought kind of a different take to it. You know, it was a little different. It's definitely the most memorable movie for me. It's very memorable for 2017. Not memorable in the best of ways. I'm just saying that's why it's kind of over a lot of the other ones. And that it's more a lot of them are kind of memorability is kind of factored into a lot of these picks.
I hear
whether I like it or not, it's very memorable. But again, at the end of the day, it's like the elements that remind me of the animated series. They got so much right and so much pulled from the animated series and the New Adventures of Batman and all that stuff. And of course, we have like the bar scene, where you go to bar. Bear in mind, a lot of these songs go on way too long. But the dive bar, there's a lot of fun in that sequence. In the end, I mean, if I had to pick one really great sequence from that movie, I mean, I love this. Batman downing the milk in this. The bit that sticks to me is when Batman just throws his utility bill, and that in itself would scare me, to death. Just like Batman throws his bill on the ground, saying, "I don't need these gadgets." And he downs some milk, and he has a smile on his face. That was
got milk.
I'm just saying, honestly, it all boils down. Like, as much as the sequences that build up to that really disappoint me and really hurt me fundamentally as a Batman fan. I mean, again, they really hurt.
You realize that you're basically talking like an abuse victim, right? Like someone who's an abusive relationship. Yeah, it hurt me very fundamentally, very to the core. But you know what? It's Batman.
It did, but it was like 2 moments though. In the grand scheme, it's like 2 really bad moments, and then the rest of it. I mean, you know, we have there's a funny ending. I know it's divisive among people. I think it's a funny ending. We work in Swamp Thing again. Swamp Thing being worked into the movie is again that makes me want a Swamp Thing movie even more.
Mhm.
The big mistake was not looping in Paul Dini, which I think would have saved the movie. We already went through this, but like I think the last thing I guess is we get a better version of a car scene when like they're after that bar scene, they're all kind of bonding in the car, and that's nice.
Okay.
What leads up to it is terrible, but adds like a lot of nice points. So,
All right.
that's it. That's Batman Harley Quinn for you, folks. I wouldn't recommend it, but I'd just say, it's an experience.
Okie dokie. So my number 27, and let me say my number 27. If our good friends at Super Academy saw that I had it this high, Dragon, they would not be happy.
Oh God.
Cars 3. Surprisingly high up on the list. Dragon, I got so much shit on Facebook about this movie. Like, I think the one movie franchise that people despise more than Pirates of the Caribbean is Cars. And honestly, I don't know why, because Cars 2, yeah, it's a shitty movie, but I don't think Cars 2 is as bad as the shitty Pirates of the Caribbean movies, though. And I think the original Cars it's very underappreciated, I think. I love the small town message of that movie, the stop and, basically the stop and smell the roses message of that movie. Cars 3, honestly, though, might be the best in the series, which is not a high bar, granted, but it is a very good movie, I think. And it's a movie that not a lot of people even, gave the time of day just because they were so disenfranchised with Cars 2. I don't really have a ton to say about this that we haven't already said, Dragon, but there's a lot of stuff in this I like. Lightning's arc in general is very, very well handled. Of course, Cruz Ramirez is kind of the weak point we've already talked about.
But mixed bag.
I guess to me, Cruz Ramirez is kind of like the thing in this movie that I can tolerate to get to all the really good stuff.
Yeah.
I will say the animation in this movie is freaking spectacular. I love all the settings in this movie. I love how this movie builds upon the Cars world. That's one of my favorite elements of it. Like, unlike Cars 2, where Cars 2 almost felt like a step backwards in the Cars lore, where yeah, we were getting more locations, but at the same time, the actual built-in world building logic of the Cars franchise kind of went out the window of Cars 2 a little bit. And I feel like this movie gets it kind of back on track. I think Mater is used very sparingly and very well in this movie. That was a big plus. I love the way that they work in Doc Hudson and God, Dragon, remind me of the Sam Elliott character in this movie. Remind me his name.
Oh, that is God, I know his name.
The King, right? No, it's not the King.
It's not the King. They're in Thomasville. I know they're in Thomasville. I'm just trying to think of his. It's Chris Cooper plays that character. Chris Cooper.
I'm sorry, not Sam Elliott. I get Sam Elliott and Chris Cooper.
That's the reason Chris Cooper as his name.
It doesn't matter. I really liked his character. Generally, surprisingly, I really like all the training stuff in this movie. I like the beach race. I like all the stuff with Cruz. I like the junkyard. Just overall, very, very good world building. It's not a perfect Pixar movie by any stretch. It's definitely not going to reach the top 10 Pixar movies or anything. But
Smokey. That's the character name, Smokey.
There we go. Thank you. But I don't know. I just think people give this movie way, way, way too much hate. The hate for this movie even existing is way over the top, I think. All right.
Okay, number 27 for me.
Yeah, one sec.
Big 27. Also my birthday.
One moment. Okay.
Going in Style. So Going in Style is a remake. It's a remake of an older film, but I had not seen that. I haven't seen that movie. Honestly, this is a film I recommend everyone check out, but it's kind of like a first. It's I think it's a movie you kind of want to see once, to be quite honest. It's in a good way. It's a great first time viewing experience when you have this movie, because it's essentially it's an old school heist movie. It's a remake of an old school heist movie. And three guys who essentially are they're really victimized by the banking system. That's kind of like basically the corporate banking system. That's kind of basically stole their pension. So all these guys are without. They're guys who work a factory job. That's they know each other. They're old friends. They really have really great chemistry. The trio is very solid. Michael Caine, Morgan Freeman, and Alan Arkin. They're really good together. And it's a solid. It's really well cast. Even aside from that, Peter Serafinowicz, he has a nice role in it. I mean, a tick, Peter Serafinowicz. Joey King, Joey King, who was, she was in Oz the Great, she was in Oz the Great and Powerful. She's like, I'm trying to think of other movies she's been in because I know her from that and Dark Knight Rises. But Joey King, she's good. She's older and she's kind of grown into a nice child. Actually, she's really good in the movie as Michael Caine's granddaughter. So it surprisingly it invests you. I just came in not knowing what to expect. It's just like a harmless movie, kind of like what I had with The Intern before. And I love The Interns as it's such a nice movie. This is kind of a really. It's an investing movie. It's really well made. Zach Braff directed this, and he did a really good job.
I totally forgot that Zach Braff directed this movie. Oh
yeah,
he did.
I seriously think he did a really good job. It's a solid movie. It's a solid good. It's a good.
It's funny, Dragon. Like I'm one of those people who like was obsessed with Garden State in high school, but then I look back on Garden State and I'm like, oh god, what hipster bullshit is this?
I mean, there might be one scene that just, again, it's not bad. It's just like, it's a little like to be expected. Aside from that one scene, and again, basically, I think you're going to really enjoy the movie, especially if you give it like a watch, and I think everyone will be really, really happy with it. It's a good, harmless movie. It's nice. It's a nice movie.
Okay. All right.
It's like Leonard Maltin training Norman Bates. It's a nice movie.
God.
I think it's a nice film.
Oh man! All right. Yeah, because Norman Bates just randomly wanted to get into the film criticism. Wait, did you just call him Mr. Malt?
Yeah, that's what I'm just saying. As a Norman Bates being respectful, that's what he called
him. All right. So my number 26, and Dragon, we only have about an hour left, so let's kind of. I know we're going at as good a pace as we can, but just be mindful of that.
Okay.
Okay, my number 26. This is The Beguiled.
Okay.
This is actually directed by Sofia Coppola.
Oh.
Yeah. Oh my God, right. The atmosphere in this movie is wait. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't realize I wasn't screen sharing. My bad.
Well, it was there, but then I guess it went away, so.
I don't know what happened with that.
Okay, so Beguiled. Remember, you're really hyping this movie up this year, so Beguiled.
This was at one point my favorite movie of the year, yes. But keep in mind this came out like halfway through the year, so there were a lot of other movies to come out after it.
Factual.
Right. This is just such a gothic and atmospheric thriller, Dragon. Just the atmosphere in this movie. It's like it's all set on this southern plantation during the Civil War, and essentially the idea is that basically on the southern plantation, like all the men are off to war, leaving all the women behind, right? And Colin Farrell kind of stumbles into it, and let's just say, Dragon, Colin Farrell kind of gets into a little bit of a misery situation with these women. Because these women, like, they really don't know how to react to a man around the plantation, and it's weird to describe the movie, right? It's weird to describe it, but essentially what happens is that they all get like each one of these women that you see here all gets like utterly fixated on Colin Farrell in a different way, and none of them want to see him leave. And they'll do horrific shit to keep him on that plantation, Dragon.
Well, that sounds horrifying.
Oh, it's so good. It's so tense, Dragon. Just the whole, like, of course, when Colin Farrell first shows up, like the first act or so, it's like, oh, it's charming Colin Farrell and he's being the ladies' man. You know what I mean? But they turn that ladies' man thing on its head so much, and I love it. Also, by far the best performance I've ever seen. Kristen Dunst. By far best performance I've ever seen Kristen Dunst give. Like I said, and Colin Farrell, of course, fantastic as always. Like I said,
I love Travers Goff.
This is like the most like dark and gothic movie of the year. Like just the gothic atmosphere, it drips off the screen. You know what I mean? I know it's a horrific premise, but if you like stuff with misery, Dragon, I'd recommend giving this a shot, because misery is about the closest thing I can compare it to.
All right.
All right. Let me set up yours really quick.
Okay, number 26. Believe it or not, a Christmas movie.
We have this very close together, Dragon. So okay.
So number 26 for me would be El Camino Christmas. El Camino Christmas, it's a simple, unconventional hostage situation at Christmas. Christmas. It was kind of a surprise. It kind of went by on Netflix, and Tiki and I was kind of enamored by it. It's very well cast. Of course, the big three standouts being Kurtwood Smith, Vincent D'Onofrio, good old Vincent D'Onofrio, and surprising and wonderful. Tim Allen finally, after all these years, in a dramatic role, in a full-blown dramatic, in a drama, and he actually gets to play a dramatic role. And that's the thing, Tiki and I, especially me. I mean, I've always
it's funny. Like I think you and I have like different versions of what we wanted Tim Allen dramatic performance to be. Like I've always been the cheerleader for like Quentin Tarantino needs to cast Tim Allen.
And again, Cletus Tout. That's the movie you gotta check out if you want to get close to that. Who is Cletus Tout? But anyway, I get just for I've always seen the dramatic potential in Tim Allen and his roles. I've always wanted to see kind of do a take on that. So again, it's just going to happen upon this, and in the end, it's it's a simple movie. It has like kind of an old school vibe to it, especially with D'Onofrio kind of playing the self-righteous sheriff who's really gun ho to the point where he's really breaking law. He doesn't even know what the truth is anymore. It's definitely a cluster fumble, let's say, of things gone wrong. It has a great ending. The main reason this has to be this high on the list, the reason it's over going in style. Going style. It's kind of based on the previous work, and while it's good, it's a safe movie. It's a good safe movie. El Camino, though, it's the one that doesn't grab everyone. I get that, but the climax, the ending, I don't want to give it away. Just again, the Tim Allen scene towards the end, the climax with Tim Allen's character. I mean, it's enough to bring a tear to your eye. It's the performance I've been waiting years to see him deliver, and every bit in that third act with Tim Allen. It's so beautiful, it's so great. It made for it's like a Christmas miracle.
Alrighty. Okay, my number 25. Hopefully, we have enough time to get through all this. I'm sure we're going to have a lot of stuff that repeats as we get like further on down, which will help us out time wise.
Sure.
My number 25. This is I'm assuming this is one of the lower level horror movies you were.
Yeah, that's the one. That's the precise one I was referring to. This one. So why is this one over Captain Underpants?
Dragon, do you remember last year I had Ouija Origin of Evil as like in my top 25?
Oh. Yeah.
This is kind of the same situation. Annabelle Creation has no right to be as good as it actually is. All right.
Yeah.
Like, it has no right to be because the first Annabelle absolutely sucked ass. Just first Annabelle, terrible movie. This year is a very strong year for horror movies, Dragon. There might be more horror movies on my list than there are like any other type of movie. All I can say about this movie, there's a lot of moving parts to it. It's got an incredibly compelling main kid actor, though. It's got an incredibly compelling main kid character. And this kid character, it's a little girl with polio. And so she's got the physical disability throughout the whole movie, which very much kind of runs its way through the fabric of the film, kind of like the helpless feeling of that, right? As you're tracking this poor girl with with like the Forrest Gump leg braces, you know what I mean?
Right.
And also much like The Beguiled, this is set on a farmhouse. It's a very claustrophobic movie. Essentially, the premise is that a husband and wife take in a bunch of orphan girls to their farmhouse after the death of their daughter. And the husband and wife, there's a lot of really interesting, shady stuff going on with the husband and wife. They play a really interesting role. They're not necessarily evil, but there's definitely some shady stuff going on. The actual doll, Dragon, this is kind of one of the things I dug about the movie. The actual doll is more of just a conduit for like the spirits in this movie. Like the actual doll, it's not a movie about a doll just scaring the pants off of people. Like the doll is more of a symbol for bad shit going on and kind of acting as the conduit for bad shit going on. Gotcha. So like I said, it's just I'm Drag. This is not your type of movie at all. Like out of all the horror movies this year, this is the one you can skip But for horror movie fans in general, for fans of like the Conjuring style spook house horror, it's very, very good. It's very good. I left completely satisfied with it. Just as a fan of the genre, it did a lot of things right. It had a lot of good atmosphere. It built up a lot of good setups. Like I said, I think the main girl with polio is kind of like the reason why this is this high, because she was just a fantastic main character, and honestly, like way deeper than most main characters in mainstream horror movies these days. So yeah, again, Dragon, totally not your type of movie. I'm not expecting you to understand why it's above Captain America. Or not Captain America, Underpants. Yes.
There's no reason it should be above Captain America.
To be fair, no, I would not put this above any of the Captain America movies, Dragon, if that makes you feel better.
Better, yes.
All right. Okay, so let me hold on. Like I said, I'm sorry, folks. It's the transfer over here is a little more time consuming than I thought it would be. Okay, number 25 for you, Dragon.
25 for me is...
I'm assuming this is going to go by super fast.
yeah, the Hitman's Bodyguard. I pretty much echo Tiki's thoughts here. Where it's a very fun movie. You get chemistry with Ryan Reynolds and Samuel L. Jackson. The main thing to highlight about this movie is that they know what movie they're making, and it shows in the best of ways. It's not deep or complex. It's a lot of fun. It's a fun and silly action film. I think it's well directed in a lot of places. Again, it's a fun one. It's kind of, they know, again, even the marketing, they know exactly what kind of movie they're making. And
I think Penelope Cruz is the standout in this movie, and I wish her character had more to do, because she's got like 2 or 3 scenes, and they're all just amazing.
Not
Selma Hayek.
Yeah.
I get those two mixed up so much, Dragon. It's bad. It's bad.
It's Selma Hayek.
God.
Anyway, so Hitman's Bodyguard. It's a fun one to rewatch.
Also, shit, I just realized there's something on my list that I did not actually put in, and it actually stars Selma Hayek. So I'm going to talk about that movie really quick as an honorable mention. Beatrice at Dinner. It's
I know you're talking about this.
Yeah, it's a John Lithgow movie. John Lithgow basically plays like a 1%er a-hole, and Salma Hayek plays a maid. Or no, I'm sorry, not a maid. She plays a very maid-like character, like a Mexican immigrant woman who works as a massage therapist for this rich family. Essentially, her car breaks down, after a massage session, and this rich family is about to have like a really elite, like socialist party. And so it's basically kind of like clashing economics, right? It's a very political movie. I'd watch it just for the Lithgow. It's got a really haunting ending to it. And honestly, I'm sad that I totally I knew there were a couple things that I didn't. Dragon, I had this sinking feeling because I thought that the 53 I had on my list, I thought that number was a little low. So I apologize. Okay. But anyways, going to my actual number 24 now, and this is going to go by super quick because we already talked about this movie. I really don't have a lot to add. Number 24, El Camino Christmas. Yeah, Drake, I basically agree with everything you said. It's like it's understandable that not everyone's going to dig this one. And I'm not going to repeat what the stuff that makes me uncomfortable in this movie is, but what it is. There's
like a faux pas in the writing with kind of a mute character, let's say. And in addition to that, you have there's some plot lines where we're just basically taking stuff from data that doesn't need to be there. We're kind of mistakes in other hostage Christmas movies. So it's like, we're kind of it's special in every
this might be one of the best casts of the year, though, Dragon, between Tim Allen, Vincent D'Onofrio, Dax Shepard, Kurtwood Smith. I mean, my God, they're all fantastic.
Oh yeah.
I love the small desert town atmosphere of this movie. It's very much a Christmas movie it's very much like the Christmas movie in an unconventional location, right? And we like those types of movies.
Yeah.
As I said, Kurtwood Smith is a lot of fun. Tim Allen, you've nailed it about Tim Allen. Watch this movie if you want a really good dramatic Tim Allen performance. And just overall, the hostage situation is handled really well. I thought.
It is. It's very smartly written.
I like how it's essentially like a bottle episode for the second half of the movie. That was really well done.
Yes.
Okie dokie. Yeah, that's
Okay.
it on my end.
24 for me, then.
And now I'm spoiling it again. I'm sorry. Okay. Actually, with any luck...
That one, I don't think that's way off, because my 24 is...
It's not way off, but it's not exactly on point.
There we go. So yeah, 24 for me is Wizard of Lies. This was a movie done on HBO. It is directed by Barry Levinson, a guy who directed Rain Man, Bugsy, a lot of other famous films. It is a biopic about Bernie Madoff, and it has a great Robert De Niro performance. And, De Niro, a good actor. I know, he never heard of that one before, but he's just.
Well, at least it's not Al Pacino plugging Al. What is it? The Al Pacino cappuccino and Jack and Jill. Dunkachino. That's it.
To be fair, I mean, again, like one of the rarities with De Niro you'll have with him not doing a good performance would probably be something like Dirty Grandpa.
Yeah.
But this is a movie that shows that he's gotten over that. The Comedian last year was also good. I hadn't put on this. I hadn't seen it until this year, but The Comedian last year's. The point is, Wizard of Lies was a really good biopic. It was, again, basically what you see before you, folks. This is what the movie's all about. It's De Niro and Michelle Pfeiffer as Bernie and Ruth Madoff. They complement each other very well. I mean, from the side, when De Niro, when he's in profile, he looks identical to Madoff. And again, his performance, he's a really committed performance. There were a lot of startling moments. That's what the movie's really marking on. It's on these startling moments where it's like, you're just seeing with ease, which is almost like basically it's shot like a serial. Like Madoff is in a way he is shot like you would a serial killer movie, and that there are those startling moments like he's handling people like a serial killer would, trolling for victims,
and
that no one notices anything's amiss here. He's literally just going to ask for money. He gets huge sums of it, wrapping people up in essentially Ponzi schemes. Again, without one iota. Again, you guys just seem so trustworthy. He's turning down money because he has so much money. It's ridiculous. And the dark moments really come from this. Aside from those startling moments, like when he's on trial, it's a really memorable moment. But I mean, like moments where his family, you feel bad for the Madoff family because they're just dragged into the darkness with him. And you see his family kind of get torn to shreds as the movie goes on. So I would very much recommend it as like a really good biopic of 2017. Folks, check it out if you can. Wizard of Lies, really competently made.
Cool. Right. Okay, let's see. We're at my number 24, right? Yeah. No. We're at my number 23, I think.
Yes, because we get the little switch thing after.
Yeah. Okay. Number 23 for me, which you already saw, but whatever. The Jungle Movie. Okay, so I mean, talk about a fucking wish fulfillment, right? I've heard other people use the same analogy. Like watching the Jungle Movie for the first time literally felt like a dream. Like
thanks, 90s nostalgia fairy.
Like yeah, right. Like it literally didn't even feel like it was actually happening.
It's like a 1/1000s, 2/1000s moment,
I mean, this like. It's got a great representation of the cast. There are certain characters, particularly like Stinky, I think is the big one that kind of got the shaft.
Yeah.
But overall, it's so wonderful to see everyone. All the little cameos and Easter eggs and callbacks are all great. I think the stuff with Arnold and Helga is absolutely fucking impeccable. Like they just totally just like, oh yeah, no, that shit that happened in the original Hey Arnold movie, just forget about it. Just forget you ever saw it, kid. Forget you ever saw that. Because the stuff between Arnold and Helga in this movie is fucking fantastic. Just absolutely knocks it out of the park. The reason why this isn't higher, Dragon, is just because I feel like there's a lot of plot points in this movie that are pretty damn predictable.
Sure.
Like, it's very much got that Nickelodeon TV movie vibe going on where it's like you can kind of tell what's going to happen like 3 scenes ahead of the main characters.
And you're not wrong.
And also just because I'm weird and I don't like to put TV movies too high because they're not theatrical. But you think this is a good placement for Jungle Movie, right? I mean, you have it right around this area.
Yeah, that's serviceable. Now, thinking that there's the TV movie thing does something. Yeah, it's kind of in there. Yeah.
Okay.
All right. So, number 23 for me would be another movie with 3 in the title. Believe it or not.
I think
Despicable.
this is going to go by. This is going to go by quick because we've already talked about the
Yes,
movie. So.
Despicable Me 3 just real quick is that it's another for me. It's another solid entry in the Despicable Me franchise. Could have been fine tuned most assuredly, and mainly trimmed. It could have been the focus. Could have been there were a lot of plot. There were a lot of plot points. There were a lot not plot points. There were a lot of kind of side plots. I guess. There were a lot of basically
Like
we
I
could have
said,
trimmed
everything outside of Balthazar Brad is kind of a blur to me.
Yeah, and I mean the Minions story was fun though. The Minions in prison is kind of what kind of starts.
Yeah, well, I'm one of those people who really doesn't like.
Yeah,
and so
I mean, Despicable Me at the end, you always have kind of a people are either there. It's like it always boils down to the question: are you for the Minions or are you not for the Minions? That's kind of what shapes.
Here's the thing, though. I'm not for the Minions, but I am very much for Gru.
Yeah.
Like I really like the Gru character. I like his dynamic with the daughters, and I feel like the Minions just take away from that in all these movies.
Yeah. Well, at least here, I thought the absurdity of the Minions in prison, seeing how they get out of prison, the fact they own the prison when they get there, I think is hysterical. But but yeah, on the Gru story though, man, I love the heart. I love the heart in the brothers story. My problem with the movie, and the reason it's kind of not, it's not higher on the list.
Oh my god, I literally forgot about the brother. You see, that's how forgettable the non-Balthazar Brat stuff is in this movie to me.
I mean, here's the thing. I think there's some heart in the brothers story, and I feel it would have been better if we just. One, there's not as much finality as they probably should be because they basically want to milk the franchise, want to keep it going. They're doing Minions too.
Franchise.
Yeah, and they're doing Despicable Me 4, and I feel like the brothers sort of held.
Michael Keaton should play the villain in Despicable Me.
Well, remember, no, Tiki, that's actually a possible choice because he was in the Minions. Michael Keaton was in Minions.
right.
And they reuse actors like Kirsten Wiig was a different character in the first movie, so they actually could have Michael Keaton as a bad guy. Anyway, what I'm saying is, I think if they ended on a note of finale, they really could have. Because the problem for me was that the brother story was really good. They had legs to stand on there, but they kind of wasted it. They could have really honed in on that and really made the whole heart of the Despicable Me franchise is about family, and of course, is bringing the family thing to a close of Gru. Like there's some stuff with Gru's father is brought up, but we kind of mention him. We don't really focus on that. Like that thing it's some wasted potential, and that's kind of why it's. Yeah, that's why it's lower on the list. And the finale, I think, would have made it a little more special. But yeah, that's just mine. It doesn't need to be final as I say so. Anyway.
All right. So let's see. Are we on my 22 or 21?
20. Well, it should be 22.
Yeah, 22. 22. You're right. Okay. 22. Dragon. This one might raise an eyebrow for you. This one might raise an eyebrow. Like it won't be as dramatic as some of the other ones, but it might raise an eyebrow. Number
like 22. A tangled raised eyebrow.
Sure.
Oh wow, 22?
Yeah.
I'm not begrudging. I'm just shocked. That's all. Keep going.
This was my most anticipated movie in the past 2 years because it was originally slated to come out in 2016. It was my most anticipated movie of that year until it got bumped to 2017. Then it was my most anticipated movie of 2017.
This was kind of your Deadpool. It was kind of your Deadpool.
Mm-hmm. And it's a very, very damn good movie, and it definitely deserves to be number 22. And there's a lot of movies on this list that it's above, so I want to stress that.
Okay.
Basically, my opinion on this movie stands. Like, I think James Franco as Wiseau is absolutely incredible. It's a transformative performance. It's hypnotizing to watch. I just wish the filmmaking around that performance was a bit stronger because I still think that really when it comes down to it, the actual storytelling in this movie and the filmmaking, I don't want to call it pedestrian, but I just, like I said, Dragon, I have this vision of this movie with the same performances, same cast, but directed by someone like David Fincher or Paul Thomas Anderson. Like a director that's really going to get in there and make a great movie. As it stands now, this is a really fun movie, and it's also a very heartfelt movie. And like I said, it's a movie that I can't even believe it exists in the form that it does with how good Franco's performance is. Because I got to admit, I was one of those people when I first saw the first teaser trailer, I was like, yeah, I'm not really sure if Franco's going to disappear into this role, but he totally did. So I absolutely, there's a lot of people, Dragon, that have this as their number. Correct me if I'm wrong, I believe this is Jeremy Johns' #1 movie of the year.
I don't think it's his #1. I know it's in there, Tegan. I know. Wait, I think I know what it is. No, it's not his #1. I know it's not his #1.
Okay, it might be Stuckman's #1 though.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Because I know it's someone's #1.
I know it's not Jeremy Johns, but anyway.
Okay, it's still in his top 10 though.
Sure, it is.
So yeah, like, so you get it, right, Dragon? Like, and of course, I definitely feel like expectation played a role in this, and also just the fact that I'm so familiar with the book and so familiar with the room. Um, so you understand, right? It's not a big snub or anything that it's not in the top 20.
No, I get it. I'm just, I get it.
All right, all right. I'm trying to think if there's any more like. Oh yeah, there is one major upset that, to tell you the truth, was kind of an upset for me, but we'll get there. We'll get there.
All right, 22 for me is a movie Tiki has not seen, right?
Yep.
Movie Tiki has not seen. It is. It's good to be. Kingsman, The Golden Circle.
I gotta tell you, Drag, I'm kind of surprised this is that high up on your list, considering I really have not heard great things about this one.
Well, honestly, what it is, Tiki, is that Kingsman Golden Circle, it very much is a Roger Moore kind of sequel to Kingsman. It's kind of Kingsman's take on what a Roger Moore kind of Bond movie would be, and I think that's kind of where I might differ from a lot of the critics, is that I'm rolling with it, man. I'm liking that they're kind of homaging that era.
I understand that. I totally get that, because there's definitely movies for me where I'll see it and I get what the director's going for, and I end up appreciating it a lot more than the general public. So I get what you're saying.
They kind of have a neat safety net that way, or things, if they're not up to snuff, that's kind of honoring what came before, because that's what the Bond sequels will do. If it's different, then it's just kind of, it's in that kind of, it's taking a chance going in a different direction that may not, obviously won't supplant kind of the love for the original, but was still going in a memorable different direction. That's kind of what Kingsman did with Golden Circle. And again, it's not perfect, but I'm just saying that that Roger Moore angle I really like. I think it's represented well in the movie. I think the villain's a lot of fun. Julianne Moore is really fun as the villain. It's an over-the-top Bond villain that she's playing with a cool gimmick. She's got a great lair. I love her lair. I love all that. She's got a gimmick like all great spy. Basically, she has like a 50s. Basically, she has like a she manufactures. She has like a drug plot. She has like a drug plot. That's where she makes all her money. She's way outside the United States. She's like in a different country, and she has like in this jungle like location. She has like a 50s. It's almost like a small 50s, like a small. It's like a 50s small town. It's like built randomly in the jungle, and that's where kind of the third act climax takes place, and it's kind of cool.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of surprising dark stuff, a lot of like left field choices that are really kind of well executed. The Statesmen were cool, and of course
I've heard they're really underused, though.
That's what I was about to get to. So the Statesmen are cool, and they're cool concept, but we underuse mainly Channing Tatum is very underused. So here's the thing: Channing Tatum is underused, but
I was so sold on his character from the trailer too. That's honestly one of the main reasons I didn't see the movie in theaters, is because I heard that he was just kind of robbed of screen time.
Yeah, so while Channing Tatum is underused, I will say this: here's where the marketing is not directing you to, because Channing Tatum's underused, but Pedro Pascal, he's kind of the Stateman's equivalent to Harry, and he is really good in the movie. Pedro Pascal, he's a lot of fun.
Okay. Cool.
And he's the guy who does the manners maketh men in the trailer. He's very much is the statesman's answer to Harry, and he's a lot of fun. He's got some cool stuff I won't spoil if anyone watches it. So along with that, speaking of Harry, the return of Colin Firth is good. And there's an emotional story there with with Eggsy and Harry. It's really nice. Mark Strong is really good in the movie. There's a lot of basically it's here for a lot of there's a lot of spectacle, and it's a lot of fun. But very much I will highlight this is a problem. It is too long. It needs to be definitely needs to be trimmed. It goes on a little long, and also Elton John is great in the movie.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Number 21. I'm just going to try and go through mine as quick as I can for the most part. I have more to say about some than others. 21, three billboards outside Ebbing, Missouri. A lot of people have this in their top 10 list.
This looks like a good
understandably so.
I've seen trailers for this. It's a good one.
Dragon, I think this is an example for me where, honestly, if the ending were better, this might be in my top 10. The ending kind of drags it down. The ending, it's an ambiguous ending in a bad way. You know what I mean? Where sometimes I'll love an ambiguous ending, but this ending, without spoiling what it is, obviously, it's kind of just like, oh, wait, the credits are rolling? Well, gee, the plot's not wrapped up. What gives? You know what I mean? So it's kind of frustrating like that. It kind of, like, it doesn't even feel like a complete movie because of that ending. But everything else about it, I mean, like, the three main people you see here, Frances McDormand, Woody Harrelson, Sam Rockwell, all three of them freaking blow it out of the park. Sam Rockwell, especially, like he just transforms himself in this movie, Dragon. To tell you the truth, I don't really want to get into the plot because the plot's got a lot of moving parts to it.
Right.
It's essentially Frances McDormand is kind of trying to shame the police department for not looking into the death of her daughter more.
I got that much from the trailer, yeah.
Woody Harrelson plays a big figurehead of the community, like this big beloved figurehead of the community who he's a nice guy, but he's kind of incompetent when it comes to his job. And there's a great dynamic with McDormand and Harrelson. Rockwell is kind of the guy who's reacting to everything, and he reacts in a very volatile kind of way. And twists and turns throughout this movie. Like, this movie does not go where you're expecting it to go. I'll say that much. And just all the arcs, and especially Rockwell. Rockwell has he's got a really impressive arc from start to finish in this movie. And like I said, Dragon, I really wish the ending cleared more things up. I really wish the ending weren't so abrupt, because if the ending stuck to landing, I think this would easily be in my top 10. All right.
21 for me.
Yeah.
Would be a movie that I highly recommend everyone check out, especially this year. Star Wars coming out and everything. Bright Lights. This is a movie that I saw on HBO, and I don't know what the availability is on this, but I know it's definitely on HBO. It was I mean, look, even if you look it up on YouTube, it's under the 2017 banner. Everyone saw this in 2017, but it was technically the film festival circuit. But I'm just saying, at the end of the day, it came out in 2017 because that was it was released early, after the tragic passing last year in December of both Carrie Fisher and Debbie Reynolds. So this film was released like the earliest they could muster in January, and it was. It's very well made. It's very emotional, especially considering that release. Because I'll say this much. Now, Tiki, you've seen this, Tiki, but it's been a while, so maybe a little fuzzy. I get that. But again, I'd highly recommend you check it, especially around the close of December, because again, you'll get the emotional impact of this like you had the first time, where it was shortly after Christmas. Because the movie builds to kind of a Christmas setting, which kind of adds kind of a tragic kind of undertone to it, and it really makes it's a story about a dysfunctional mom and daughter who are neighbors and they love each other. That's really what the movie's about. It documents their lives together, and also goes the biography context goes to the history of their lives. The only negative I have about it is it's a more fleshed out version of Carrie Fisher's live show, which is Wishful Drinking, which was also good. But at the same time, it's just a more film version. It's not even a negative. It's just it's a little factoid there. But for me, not only the Christmas build that we get to is emotional, but there's this one sequence where you get into Carrie Fisher and kind of the mental stuff she had, mental illness that she suffered from, and the personality thing, the bipolar, and there's this one sequence.
Bipolar is a mental illness.
I'm sorry.
So just so there's no.
I know. I'm getting a little self-conscious. That's what I got.
All right.
The point is, we get to this one segment where she's on the Great Wall of China, and it's like I guess it's around the holiday season because she has this little like not a boombox, this little stereo she's grabbing around with her, little audio cassette player, and she's playing Christmas music, and she's kind of like she's narrating over there's the happy personality, and there's the sad personality, and as the happy personality is going on, basically her possibly hopped up on pills in the scene, she's super energized. She's going around. We have this haunting thing where Jingle Bells plays on, like jingle. It's like the tape becomes warped, and it's really haunting.
Damn.
So Bright Lights, I highly recommend it.
Cool. Okay, now we're getting into my top 20, folks, and like I said, basically each one of these films could top an end of the year list as far as I'm concerned. Just fantastic year for movies, especially these ones. Okay, number 20. The first of two movies this year with the word Logan in the title, Logan Lucky.
Yes.
This was also, for a period of time, my number one of the year. Dragon, I still think this might have some of the best straight-up character stuff in any movie this year. I love two characters in particular in this movie. I love Adam Driver, who you see here. Adam Driver plays like a war vet who's a bartender, and he has one arm, and he's the brother to the main character. He's great. He's fantastic. But really the big standout is Daniel frickin' Craig, man. Daniel Craig is on fire in this movie. He is just electric in this movie. And I'm not usually a Daniel Craig guy outside of Bond. I'm usually the type of guy who's like, yeah, Daniel Craig, he's a little too stoic. No, Daniel Craig's role in this movie is like the opposite of stoic. Like, he is such a loose cannon in this movie, and it's so fun to watch. The reason why this is number 20 and not higher is that really at the end of the day, it's just kind of like a standard, a standard heist movie. It's basically Ocean's 11 meets NASCAR. But what I like about this movie a lot more than the Ocean's 11 movies is really the Ocean's 11 movies are just kind of an excuse. Same director, by the way, so that's why I bring it up. The Ocean's 11 movies are basically an excuse to, like, oh, it's George Clooney and Brad Pitt, and they're not really playing characters. They're playing themselves, essentially. They're kind of playing avatars of themselves. But with Logan Lucky, it's very much like a Southern version of that. So there are actual stakes because these people involved in this heist are all on the poverty line, right? And that, to me, that one element of it, the motivation, just kind of elevates this for me, like, far beyond the Ocean's 11 movies. It is a very standard heist movie, and it does maybe go on a little. There's maybe a little too much aftermath at the end of the movie. It didn't bother me, but I've heard it bother some people. But like I said, just see it just for Adam Driver, Daniel Craig, because really those two are why it's so high. Daniel Craig especially is just so much fun in this movie. It's so much fun. Okay. All right. Top 20. Dre, you think we can do this in like half an hour? I don't know.
I mean, I can go quick. It's a question if we can keep it up back and forth.
Okay.
We'll see.
Okay.
I'll do my best. All right.
All right. Well, we already talked about this one, so
yeah,
go by quick.
Okay, this is Justice League. Justice League, there's definitely some editing issues, and its flaws. But it's got its issues, and again, it's DC. I think getting a little gun shy of putting out yet another incomplete film after all, kind of the director shakeups and everything. It's definitely we're missing like Superman in a black suit, quite possibly, maybe some dark side instead of like giving us his yes man Steppenwolf. It's we're definitely missing stuff here. Of course, the stuff highlighted would be Batman and Flash. For me, Batman and Flash's dynamics really nice. The whole save one person moment really gets me. But the other thing that gets me more is all the Superman moments I think are great, particularly the opening.
Which I cannot argue with you for a second. Superman is fantastic in this movie.
And again, that opening, the opening scene, I believe was Whedon did the opening scene. I think that was confirmed. But the point is, there was great moments. Whatever you want to say about Justice League, I get it, folks. I get it. All right, it could have been better. It definitely has its flaws. And at the end of the day, I mean, moments like it gives all the Superman moments. Seeing J.K. Simmons as Gordon on the rooftop with the Danny Elfman Batman theme playing. You get all these great. There are a lot of great elements in the movie. At the end of the day, for me, it's good, not great, and it shows a lot of progress for the DCU. So I mean, it's a step in the right direction. Good, not great. That's where I'm at with it.
Well, Dragon, all the movies in my top 20 are great, so not to brag. Okay, my number 19. I don't think you'll have a problem with it, but you might be surprised at it being relatively low, considering I don't know. Baby Driver.
I got no qualms with it.
Yeah. Here's the thing with Baby Driver. It's a fantastically made movie. It's just, for me, being a super fan of Edgar Wright, like I kind of obsessively watch Edgar Wright's movies. I got to admit, it's kind of low on the totem pole of Edgar Wright movies for me. I think it's better than World's End, but I think Hot Fuzz, Shaun of the Dead, and especially Scott Pilgrim are better than this. I don't want to hold anything away from Baby Driver, though. It's just Baby Driver, I mean, it's very electric. It's very, very super stylized. It's got a great cast. At the end of the day, I just don't think it's that deep of a movie, and it doesn't really need to be deep. And maybe it's asking for too much, but I feel like I don't know, Dragon, I'm telling you, Scott Pilgrim, I don't care if you don't like Michael Cera. Like, Scott Pilgrim is a masterpiece of a comic book movie, all right? And it is a comic book movie in every sense of the word. Baby Driver, like I say, it's very good. I don't have a ton to say about it, really. It's a great Edgar Wright movie. It's just compared to other Edgar Wright movies, it doesn't wow me quite as much. And I also think the ending was a little too like Hollywood happy ending for my taste. But yeah, it's it's great. You know, like I said, any of these movies in the top 20 in any given year could top a best of list. It's just, you know, it's just which ones did I think were more great than the others.
Sure.
Kind of trying to pull a little Animal Farm there.
Okay, number 19 for me then.
Oh shit. Okay, yeah, okay.
I just realized that when you were starting.
Right. Okay, there you go.
Fast. I also Baby Driver is my number 19. So I guess I ranked it maybe one above.
No, Baby Driver's 19 for me too.
Oh, okay, we're very simpatico then. Look, yeah. Yes,
yeah,
19.
Because my 20's Logan Lucky.
Okay, look, just real quick then, is the Baby Driver, you know, it's an old school bank robber film featuring the getaway driver. It's a modern take on a classic premise and revels in it, and that's nice. Yeah, as Tiki said, it's got a good cast. You know, the driving sequences are amazing. You've heard that from a billion other people, but it's true. You know, I will say this though. I think
Killer soundtrack, obviously.
Of course. And Oliver Gordon, he's a good lead. I like him. I think that the end's a little long in the climax. You know, kids keep going from car to car, and like, and John Hamm was seemingly indestructible.
right. John Hamm's a lot of fun in this, though.
He is. Again, it's a very solid cast, and I gotta tell you, I thought it was a good film for for Kevin Spacey as well. I mean, it was a good note for Kevin Spacey in 2017. I thought he was really good in this. He
was. I mean, in the likelihood that this is the last like theatrically released Kevin Spacey performance, it's a good note to go out on.
I was gonna say the media stuff he did this year was good. All right, let's just say that much. All right.
Okay, number 18, Dragon. This might be the biggest upset for you, honestly.
Yeah, let's see.
Okay, folks. Anyone who's watching, just prepare for a dramatic Dragon reaction in 3, 2, 1.
Why? Why?
Because the humor's a little too overbearing. That's really the only reason why it's as low as it is that I wish it would have stuck to more of the dramatic moments. I wish it would have been a little bit more of a balance. Guardians Volume 2 is close to my top 10. So Guardians Volume 2, I thought, kind of balanced the humor and the drama better than this movie did. Having said that, Dragon, this is like basically 80s metal cover of the movie, and it's fucking awesome. And like, this movie being 18, it's in no way an indictment on this movie. It's just kind of a show of quality for the whole year as a whole. You know what I mean?
All right.
And, we've talked blue in the face about Thor Ragnarok. Like I said, I love it. I feel like some of the humor kind of falls flat for me, and that's why it kind of got bumped down a little compared to some of the other stuff. But overall, still, it deserves to top a list. So, all right.
For me, number 18 would be yet another HBO documentary, but it was a good one.
I don't know. That's the thing. Like, you'll just throw anything onto your list. I'm not saying that this isn't a good movie. I'm just saying, like, it's.
Then you also saw this. I think you could have at least.
Did I see this? I don't remember seeing this.
Yeah, I think we talked about it. You saw. I know you watched the start of it. I don't know if you finished it. Tell me you finished it.
Oh wait, yeah, I remember it now. I saw it.
Anyway, so as you can see by the picture before you, the movie was Spielberg.
Yep.
Very simply Spielberg, and very economic with the title. There's Spielberg 2017. Anyway, so this is a movie on HBO, and it was a really in-depth Spielberg documentary. But what was great about this, and the reason I think it definitely deserves to be on the list regardless, is that it was a film that was kind of narratively driven. It wasn't conventionally, okay, we're just going to go plot point by plot point of the guy's life. No, we start.
I'll agree with that. It is very interesting. It definitely shapes an arc for the guy.
And I love me a good documentary. Let's just say, looking at this one, I think structurally this is probably, again, the other, obviously the other one we're going to get to. We had two others. I have two other documentaries on.
We'll get to one other one very soon.
Sure. Anyway, with this one though, I think was very well constructed and at the same time informative. So again, it felt like a movie that was also kind of a really solid kind of catalog of Spielberg's works. What I love about the movie is that the movie kind of reveals an arc of Spielberg through these films. Through his films, we're learning an arc, and we're not doing it all chronologically, but we're kind of giving the films their due in a different route. And I guess the two things that really highlight, the Lawrence of Arabia opening was the perfect note to start, because it blows you out of the water with the fact you didn't know about Spielberg. At least I didn't know him. I imagine not a lot of people knew about Spielberg. That he almost left the business after being wowed by a movie. Basically, Spielberg being wowed by movies like we are wowed by Spielberg today, and that almost scared him out of filmmaking. That's a fantastic note to start that has me. It's like a take my money moment. Like, okay, I'm sold. I got to know how this goes. And just being a fan, I've seen a billion of these documentaries, of types of documentaries like this, and this has showed me, okay, this is not going to be the same thing you've seen before.
Sure.
And of course, the father arc, we finally get some answers to the Spielberg daddy issues we've seen in so many films. And it had a good payoff. So I really like that. I love the daddy's issue arc of Spielberg within the film. So that's what I got.
Nice. Okay.
I recommend that one too.
All right. Number 17 for me. Number 17.
Yes.
Jim and Andy.
Ooh.
Yeah, this is like one of the most unconventional documentaries I have ever seen. Like the backstory behind this documentary is fascinating. The fact that it's just like all this all this archived footage of Jim Carrey method acting as,
Andy Kaufman.
God, I wanted to say a different Andy for I say my it as Andy Kaufman. I don't know.
No, it was Andy Warhol.
Right. It's just like I don't know. Just everyone. I'm pleased that this movie has found an audience, because I feel like Netflix original movies, like the Netflix shows, genuinely do good. But I feel like the Netflix original movies kind of get lost in the shuffle a little bit. So I'm very pleased that this found as big of an audience as it did, and so many people are embracing it. It's definitely the best documentary I've seen in the past few years, easily. It's, as the movie goes on, it's just got this surreal quality to it. You know what I mean? It's really a head trip where, especially when it starts to get into stuff about how Carrey would like interact with members of Kaufman's family and stuff like that. And then, of course, you got the Jerry Lauer debacle where, Carrey's like not really treating Jerry Lauer how Andy Kaufman treated Jerry Lauer, it's all very, very interesting stuff.
It is probably the most meta movie you're going to see this year.
Well, besides maybe The Disaster Artist.
I know, maybe, but honestly, I'm saying more. I'm just saying, even when we found out about Franco, he didn't actually direct it. He just used the voice. He didn't really direct it in character. In this case,
Okay, yeah, but to be fair, the guy who directed this documentary probably didn't direct in character.
I mean, that's fair. I'm just talking about it's like guys in character.
Could you imagine if the director of this documentary randomly was just method acting as Kaufman too?
God.
And then we'll make another documentary about that. All right. Dragon, I'm sure it's coming up soon on your list, so we'll just we'll circle back to that one.
Sure.
Okie dokie.
Right, now this one we already hit, so this one should go by fast as well. Number 17. Now we're getting a lot of crossover, folks. Mine are going to go by a lot quicker.
Okay. Cool.
This Bradley goes section of them that are going to go by quick. So number 17 for me would be The Jungle Movie. Hey Arnold, The Jungle Movie. So again, just at the end of the day, I'm still feeling the same way I felt about the first time I watched it, where it's rough around the edges with, again, elements like Stinky and just kind of the predictable plot elements. And honestly, again, like some choices like Eugene just kind of going basically we went too cartoony in places. We kind of made some characters one note, like Harold, and we're again, like, we have a lot.
He was hungry, Dragon.
As I was saying, but he was hungry. Basically, we had a problem with too many characters in the movie, and that we didn't have enough time to service them all. And that's the rough around the edge quality I'm talking about. Again, it wasn't bad. It was, we could have another draft when I served it well amongst the several drafts we had over the years waiting for this.
Mm-hmm.
It answers all the questions, though. It answers all of our lingering questions, if not like a large portion of it, not all of them. The character, especially our adult characters, they fit like a well-worn glove. Just hearing them again after all these years, it's a loving tribute to Hey Arnold. And the last 10 minutes, speaking of I've talked about various times. The last 10 minutes, basically, the big climax. It includes the big Helga Arnold moment, as well as Arnold and his parents kind of having the end of their story. Just the very end of it, again, ideally as a final note to the Arnold series, at least to the Arnold arc, the Arnold story. It's a perfect ending.
Oh yeah.
I love it. That's The Jungle Movie.
Okay. All right, number 16 for me, Dragon. Again, just kind of reminding you that every movie on this list deserves to top a list.
The top 20 for me is also like these are the best of the best for the top.
Okay. 20 minutes, yeah. All right, number 16. I'm sorry. Am I on? Yeah, I'm on 16. Professor Marsden and the Wonder Woman.
So jealous.
Dragon. This is essentially like. it works like the reason it's not higher is that it doesn't really go above and beyond what it sets out to do, which is essentially just make a very heartwarming and sweet biopic out of a very kind of like taboo subject. And it does it and it succeeds, you know? I got, you know, when I first heard about the movie, I was like, how the hell are they going to pull that off? You know, with all the kinky stuff and the bondage and everything. They do it, Dragon, and it works really, really well. Of course, Luke Evans, much better performance than Gaston, obviously. I mean, not poo-pooing his Gaston, but, you know, he's very engaging in this movie. The two female leads are also just, they work really well off of each other, Dragon, and this movie's a great, it's kind of like a great three-way love story that all three of these characters are having with each other.
Well, I'm familiar with that element of the story. Again, folks, I direct you to that hour thing, but this thing I want to direct you more to from the sounds of it.
Yeah. I don't have a ton to say about it because mostly Dragon, because I don't really want to give away how it unfolds to you. Sure. But yeah, I mean, you'll definitely really dig it when you get a chance to see it. I
already love the tagline. Ever wonder? That's a brilliant tagline. So I desperately wanted to see this movie this year.
All right. Okay, and let's see. So you're number 16, also a repeat. So I'm sure you can crack it out fast.
Sure. Number 16 for me would have to be another DreamWorks film.
Wait, another DreamWorks film? What?
Yes, 16.
Wait, what?
16, yeah.
Oh, shit. Okay, I'm sorry. What is it? What is it? I think I just messed up the images.
Okay, 16 is Captain Underpants.
Okay, you see, yeah, that's the thing. I'm sorry, Dragon. I didn't grab you a Captain Underpants image. I'm sorry.
Fine. Let's use the magic of imagination. Folks, you've seen Captain Underpants before, and just picture it again. Okay, let's just don't hold up. Just keep it like this so we can just go through Captain Underpants.
Okay.
All right, Captain Underpants. You see what it looks like, folks. You know the guy. You know the guy. You love the guy. So, Captain Underpants' first epic movie. It's you know, it's like a solid Peanuts movie like adaptation of a person, you know, of a really, you know, of a source material we all got some personal fondness for, you know, of those Scholastic Book Fair memories. And I remember reading those books, and what I saw on the screen, such a was such a great representation of that. Again, it felt very much, it kind of lucked into looking like the Peanuts movie, in that basically when I say that, I don't mean like it looks exactly like the Peanuts movie. I mean, it's a style that is reflective. It kind of fits all like the flip-around. It fits all the hallmarks of that book. It fits the Dave Pilkey style so well, and it's just, you know, it was I love that it can play as a one-off or as the beginning of a franchise, hence the whole first epic, or the epic first movie, again, first being key. And at the end of the day, I was very happy with it, and again, add a little dimension with Principal Krupp, you know. So we added some additional layers that I felt like it improved upon certain aspects of the source material in adapting the origin. A lot of fun. It was a good piece.
Sorry, I did not mean to screen share that.
Okay, so all right,
you. Some technical hiccups on my end, but number 15, Big Sick.
I've heard good things about this movie.
Yeah, it's a really, really genuine romantic comedy, Dragon. That's what it comes down to. I mean, it's kind of a romantic dramedy, but really at the end of the day, in spite it being about an illness and, you know, about like this girl falling into a coma and the guy kind of, you know, bonding with her parents. That's kind of the main crux of the movie, is him bonding with the parents. In spite of like the dark subject matter, it's a surprisingly like really earnest, really warm, just really, really feel good movie. You know, there's not a lot of depressing stuff in it. Dragon, Ray Romano, I think, is the reason for you to see this movie.
Yeah, I do like some Romano.
This is the best Ray Romano's ever been. I think this is the best Ray Romano performance I've ever seen.
Really?
Because, I mean, think about it. He's playing the father of the girl who's in the coma. So, you know, think about all that range that gives them.
Oh, my God. That sounds amazing.
Drag, I think you'd really dig this one if you gave it a chance. I think you'd really like it, especially for the Romano factor. And poor Holly Hunt, you know, she gets some redemption after Batman versus Superman in this movie.
Good Holly Hunter.
And also, importantly to note, this movie, of course, the big selling point of this movie is it's kind of like the main character is stuck between two worlds, where his family is, you know, very much the traditional Indian, you know, like you basically, basically like it's arranged marriages, right? It's like basically arranged marriages versus, the more typical way of doing a marriage. And like I say, it's such it's pleasantry. It's this year's pleasantries in the movie, Dragon.
Yeah, because before we had The Intern as the pleasantries in the movie, which I still need you to see at some point.
I mean, look at the giraffe that this guy's holding for his girlfriend. Seriously. Okay.
I wonder. She looks familiar. I want to say. Actually, she might be on the Netflix show I watched, but I don't want to risk being wrong. Let's just say maybe she's on a Netflix show.
All right, Dragon. Well, now I got to admit I'm kind of paranoid about your images now, but I'll do the best.
Well, the next one's right. The one you had.
Good.
So number 15 is the Lego Batman movie.
Well, I mean, I hope you didn't have Ninjago on there twice.
How would that even? Oh. By the way, I have the toys from this toy line. This is like from the toy line for Lego Batman.
Oh, so nice. I just kind of pulled it up because it was like a good lineup of characters.
Yeah, and I have my favorite there is in the four. It's the Lobster Elephant Batman is my favorite. Honestly, it's my favorite Lego from the movie. I love that so much. But anyway, so the Lego Batman movie, the reason I ranked it the way I did. So it's a great tribute piece to Batman. Yes, Cape Crusader stole a lot of its thunder when it came out, and it's still
big time.
And that's not something to hold against the movie, though. Just to be in all fairness, and the reason it's so high up, and the reason there's something that's going to supplant it, but the reason it's high up because I find it really rewatchable. I mean, and every time I watch it, again, the big fault I have with the only thing that holds it back for me, because I mean I really like it. The only thing that really holds it back for me is not the Cape Crusaders thing, but the fact that we really underuse the Batman Rogues Gallery.
Especially because the cast is so good.
That's what I'm saying. So here's the thing. So we
have
have
Billy D. Williams Two-Face, and he has maybe one or two lines.
Doug Benson is Bane doing a Bane impression. So there's a lot of we see all the Batman rogues, and that's great. And there are a lot of deep cuts too. And we kind of have lines addressing that. My issue is that while we do the whole thing where we go to the Phantom Zone, we have other famous bad guys, and that's cool. I like that, but at the same time, it just feels like we just kind of stymie what we can do with all these other great villains. Like
right.
You have your one shot of all these various Batman villains, and we're just gonna use them.
You work in Sauron and Voldemort.
It's like, guys, look, I appreciate what you're doing here, but save it for a different Lego movie. Look at what character we're talking about here.
Honestly, a Sauron Voldemort crossover movie could be its totally own thing.
Do a whole sci-fi Lego, do a whole fantasy or movie or a sci-fi movie. Get all these guys in there.
Right.
Batman, he does not need more villains.
I do love that the Gremlins are in this movie, though, Dragon.
Yeah, that's great. And Spike is giving Joker the business for a moment there. But anyway, Stripe, I guess. Anyway, okay, so the point is it's rewatchable. I love the heart, and the thing keeps, again, I love Lobster, loving Batman's the opening sequence where, he's mourning his parents and seeing that in Lego form. I thought was really moving. The score, I like the score for the Lego Batman movie, but, the whole, when he says goodbye to Robin, every time I rewatch that scene keeps getting me when he says goodbye to Robin, when he thinks he has to go back to the Phantom Zone. So the point is Lego Batman movie really has me in a lot of capacity. I thought it was a good tribute to Batman. That was a better tribute to Batman than Harley Quinn was for me this year, so.
All right, Dragon, I got to say, there's probably going to be some upsets that don't quite make it into my top 10, and this is one of them. Number 14, War for the Planet of the Apes.
Wow.
Yeah, but like I said, Dragon, this whole year is so good. This whole top 20 is so good.
I had a similar problem, but I still ranked it a little higher.
Okay, here's my thing. I actually really like that you mentioned how rewatchable Lego Batman is. The reason why this isn't ranked higher for me is I honestly can't imagine myself rewatching this movie anytime soon, especially on the small screen. I had a really great theater experience with this thing.
I think I saw it in Dolby, so I also had a good experience.
And of course, Woody Harrelson just playing a fantastic. I still think it's underreported just how good of a villain Woody Harrelson is in this movie. And of course, Caesar's arc wraps up fantastically well. Really, at the end of the day, Dragon, there's some pacing problems with this one.
Really?
I think the whole prison camp section of it kind of moves on a little too, it drags down a little bit. I agree with other people. It's kind of mismarketed. It really shouldn't have been called War for the Planet of the Apes because there's not a lot of war in it. Really, Conquest of the Planet of the Apes would be a perfect title for it. I know that was already the title, but hey, it's a remake, I don't really have a lot of excuses for this not being in my top 10 other than the fact that like I think if I were to rewatch this again and just watching it on my laptop, it would lose a lot of the majesty of it. And it's just a movie like that, you know what I mean? It's a movie. It's kind of like one of those like see it on the biggest screen possible types of movies that like I haven't rewatched it yet, but I just get I get this lingering feeling, Dragon, that if I do rewatch it, it's gonna drag a little bit, and it's just not gonna feel as epic on the small screen. But having said that, I mean, this is a legitimately epic movie and the end to one of the most consistent film trilogies ever, surprisingly. Like, who would have thought that the Planet of the Apes remakes would be one of the most consistent trilogies, Dragon?
Yeah, it's surprising.
All right, and I'm sure you have that a little higher up, so we'll...
Yeah, it's a little. Don't sweat it too much, but yeah. Okay. Number 14.
All right, and I hope I'm kind of paranoid about all your images now, so,
all right.
So just let me know if this isn't right, all right? All Number 14 is, I'm assuming it is...
Yes!
Okay, good. Okay, I think we're on the right track, Dragon.
All right, so Cars 3, folks. It's number 14. So basically, I'm gonna make it quick here because we are kind of talked about Cars 3 a little bit. You know, it's a solid end.
We're dangerously low on time at this point. I mean, I know we're not going to end right on the hour mark, but
okay, you know, it's a solid end for Cars 2. It's very much in the vein of Cars 1. You know, we get I love McQueen. I love the whole McQueen and Hudson's arc. You know, it's handled very well. You know, I honestly was listening to some of the commentary on this, and again, I respect the filmmaking that went into this very much. So, and I just love how it's a story of mentorship, and I think that's great. And I've always loved, ever since the first time I watched, I love the McQueen learning. Basically, McQueen's arc is learning that Doc Hudson was more of a father to him than he realized, and I thought it was great. Kind of, he's less mentor, more kind of a father figure to him, and basically McQueen kind of going through the Doc Hudson experience. I thought that's a fantastic idea. Ever since I saw it in the trailer and seeing that unfold in the movie, that's great. Again, the only thing taken away from Cars 3 and the reason that it's it doesn't surpass the first one, honestly, is we have a lot of missteps with Cruz Ramirez that I think hurts the payoff. I like the payoff of Cruz Ramirez, but we really hurt it with the introduction of Cruz Ramirez, and that's still a problem I have with the movie. That's really persists. But everything else I think is really. They've adjusted in the best ways they could from Cars 2, which again is not the worst thing ever, but it's definitely flawed. So
okay. Dragon, I must say this was a personal upset for me. I really wanted to put this movie in the top 10. I really, really wanted to, but I couldn't justify putting it over any of the other films. So number 13, Guardians Volume 2.
Oh,
I know.
I'm not condemning you. I'm just really surprised.
Wow. No, I was surprised too, Dragon. I mean, I love this movie. I think this movie is honestly kind of criminally underrated. I know a lot of people hate on this movie for some weird reason. I won't even get into it. Like Jacob Gulliver. Like, we love Jacob Gulliver, Dragon, but he hates the Guardians movies with a passion, and I will never understand why.
I think he was launched into space as a child.
But you know what? Kyle Decker is usually kind of the more cynical one, and Gulliver's more the optimistic one. But Kyle Decker really jumped to bat for Guardians Volume 2 when Gulliver and both Gulliver and Slothmaster Scott Reefer. Yeah, they were both bad mouthing him, and then Kyle Decker comes in come on, man! A lot of talented people worked on this movie. Even if you did personally dislike it, you don't have to make it personal. You know what I mean? So, right. Volume 2 simply. I'm sorry. I'm trying. I'm sorry, Dragon. Volume 2 is it's the most personal Marvel movie to me, frankly. I know people have issues with the daddy subplot. You're there, right?
Yeah, I'm right here.
All right, sorry, I just got interrupted for a second.
No problem.
It's the most personal Marvel movie. I honestly think the humor in this, the blend of... to be honest with you, Dragon, I know I'm in the minority when I say this, but more of the jokes in this movie land for me than in Thor Ragnarok. Thor Ragnarok has more groaners. The whole I still can't forgive the the giant anus in space or whatever it is.
The devil's anus.
Yeah, I still can't forgive that, Dragon. I really can't.
It's not the right material.
I also really appreciate that the humor in Guardians Volume 2 is kind of like mean-spirited and dark. And I've heard people complain about that, but to me, that kind of just makes it feel more like a Joe Dante movie or something like that, you know? It gives it an edge. And, of course, Yondu. Like, Yondu is absolutely fantastic in this movie. One of the best arcs of any MCU character in any standalone MCU movie. And Dragon, this might be my favorite ending to a movie all year. I mean, the ending to Volume 2, just, it touches me on a really raw level. Because, like, first of all, that song that's playing over the end was literally a song that my dad would play to me as a kid, so it got that, you know? But just the idea that the movie ends with Rocket with tears streaming down his face, spoiler alert, you know, it hits me, man. It hits me in the feels.
I got you. I hear you.
Like I said, it was so tough to not have this in the top 10, Dragon. So tough. All right, but seriously, man, we need to speed things along because the time issue is kind of getting out of hand here. So, let's see. Next one, I'm assuming, if the image is correct, I'm assuming this one will go by fast.
Yes.
All right.
Okay, so this is Batman versus Two-Face, another quality work like Cape Crusaders. You know, it's true to '60s Batman as the previous one was. Shatner's Two-Face is perfect. It's continuing to tell stories that were not told in the show. It's kind of a long lost episode, kind of brought to life. Plays as the problem is, of course, it does play as an extended episode, and for me, it's that. Less that, more my problem is that it doesn't have as final an ending as Cape Crusaders does, but these are all pittance in terms of like what's wrong with this movie. It's a fantastic movie, it's a fantastic work. At the end of the day, it's a movie. Basically, it's an episode with a prologue, but it times out like a movie, so I'm fine with it. For me, the ending, less the ending of the movie gets me. It's more like, again, I looked into this thing, and it is very much, it's the actual live action footage of Batman in silhouette as Adam West, as we see all those dancing Batmans, and that really is like we see Adam West as the last final image of the movie, then rests well, bright night. It's a beautiful ending. So again, Batman vs. Two-Face, I had a lot of hype and it was all delivered upon. So good
okay. All right. Number 12. Most recent movie on this list that I've seen. By a few hours, I want to say. Here's the thing, Dragon. I'm not really in love with this movie, all right? It's got so many good things going on for it. It's got an amazing. It's Guillermo del Toro, so of course the set design is going to be incredible. It looks way better than something like Pacific Rim did. Basically, Dragon, my main problem with this movie is that the three main story arcs kind of feel a little disconnected from each other. You got like kind of the government conspiracy stuff going on in the lab. Then you've got Richard Jenkins and Sally Hawkins kind of like off on a buddy trip movie, you know, where they're like, you know, they're Dragon. Oh my God, I just realized this. There's a big emphasis on pies in this movie.
Oh God, Franco be in heaven.
Yep. That just came to me now. And then Michael Shannon is fantastic in this movie, but he's got a really bizarro subplot where it's like we keep checking in on his family, and it's kind of like this really weird, like kind of like anti-Leave It to Beaver kind of, you know, like it's really weird. Like it's entertaining, but it doesn't really fit with the rest of the movie. So that's really my main problem with this movie, is that it's three really good stories that don't necessarily feel like they connect all that well to each other, but still, it's three fantastic stories, and it's fucking Guillermo del Toro. Doug Jones, of course, fantastic creature design. Sally Hawkins is probably the front runner to win Best Actress this year for good reason. You're gonna dig it. Like I said, just go in knowing that the plot is a little bit disconnected.
Okay.
Right. Let's see, we're on your number 12, right, Dragon?
Yes, this will go by real fast. Okay, number 12 for me.
Oh, yes, it will go by fast. Okay, hold on. Well, you see, this isn't in your top 10 either, so.
I know, I told you, it's close. I put, you know. Okay, War for the Planet of the Apes. I kind of echo a lot of what Tiki said already. You know, Matt Reeves, he impresses as a director. That's really what I came in looking at. It's like you wonder how he's going to, of course, being rumored to be a Batman director, still seeming that this movie's doing wonders for him in his career, and I think it shows. Harrelson was fantastic as the Colonel. His portrayal as the Colonel is very haunting. You know, it's it's a fine ending to the trilogy of Caesar's journey. It's Caesar's a complex leader. I love we can just focus on. I just love seeing we can read all these great emotions on him silently. I just love seeing Caesar walk around because the effects look that good. But at the same time, Andy Serkis. I mean, let's throw him an Oscar nod. Let's throw him Fast Four. Let's throw him an Oscar nod.
I mean, he definitely deserves it. The whole thing is this year is so stacked. I don't think it's likely.
Yeah. That's the thing. Plus, you always have like the BoJack Horseman debate of like, hey, was he all CG? Was it actually Serkis? It was a computer generated performance. Of course, it wasn't. It was actually a great performance. But anyway, so the point is, very much like Planet Apes as well. Okay,
all right. Number 11, kind of barreling through these. Number 11. Wind River. I knew nothing about this movie walking in, and basically, Drake, you've seen Sicario, right?
No,
you haven't. Oh man, you should see Sicario. It's got a fantastic Benicio del Toro performance. Also, Josh Brolin as well. Josh Brolin's also really good. There's a sequel coming out to it with Brolin and Benicio del Toro.
I heard about the sequel.
Mm-hmm. Wind River is essentially like Sicario takes place in a desert. Wind River takes place in like a snowy mountain, but it's all very much it feels very similar. This movie feels very similar to Sicario, except I think I like it a little better than Sicario because I feel like the characters are a little more well-rounded. Whereas, the characters in Sicario are kind of like, they're action movie characters, but they've got a level of depth to them. Whereas the characters in Wind River just straight up feel like real people thrust into a hellish situation. Wind River is very, very isolated. There's like these great majestic landscape shots of the snow. It's super dark. There's some moments in here that are going to make your stomach churn. It's very unpredictable. It goes at a fast pace. It's got a really good wrap-up, Dragon. The wrap-up might seem rushed, but that's kind of the point of it. It's got like a very like kind of cut and dry, like very like slam bang dirty sort of ending to it. And Jeremy Renner, fantastic work from Jeremy Renner.
Okay, number 11 for me would have to be.
Oh God! Hold on. Like elongated, Dragon. Elongated would have to be.
For me, would have to be Dunkirk. Little Dunkirk. So yes, Dunkirk. I'm sorry. Look. Let me say this. This is a great movie. Again, I would have liked to put it in my top 10. I really would have, but it kind of ended up being that way. But again, I got as close as I could within the top 10. It's in the top 20 is like the best of the best. Nolan, he captured war in a whole new way. It's amazing. It's I will say this. It is in the objectively, it is in the top 5 of like the best made films for this year. I'll say that. I would say objectively, it is one of the absolute finest movies of this year. It's definitely the best made of this year. It's in the top 5 objectively. I'm saying my personal preference. I liked it. I respected it. But at the end, for me, it's very much. It's a great experimental film. It's a great experimental film. It looks great. It's shot well. It's doing some cool stuff. But it feels like it's kind of like a test run for Nolan. It feels like a good. This is like Nolan. It feels like almost like, hey, this Christopher Nolan's such a good film. This is what he does. When he's not even. When he's just testing things out. It makes a good movie.
Okay.
He's
take on that, but we'll get to that when we get to it.
Sure. I'm just saying again, Dunkirk. I respect. Again, I think it's a great film. I really like it. It's the whole lack of character. I get that it's intentional. I'm just saying, it's different. It's different. It's good. It should be in a top 10. It's kind of ended up being so many good films here can end up being pushed to 11. So it's
all right.
I would put it higher if I could. So.
Okay, and here we're getting to the top 10. And thanks for sticking with us, folks, because these are all these marathon podcasts.
The final countdown.
Okay, number 10, It. Dragon, you need to see this movie. I think you're gonna dig this movie. It's really not scary, to tell you the truth. Like it's barely even a horror movie. It's more of just like a good kind of like red-blooded adventure movie. It's very much Stand By Me, and all those other classic. I don't know. It's got such a good heart to it. You know what I mean? It's got such a great group of kids. God, I'm sorry, John. I'm kind of struggling with this because like I can't really talk all that loud, and I'm like I want to be more energetic and animated than I am. I don't know.
Just give it to the radio, DJ.
Yeah, it is basically, it's like the creme de la creme of Stephen King adaptations. It's the Stephen King adaptation we've always wanted. And Bill Skarsgård as Pennywise, not quite as scary as everyone was hoping he'd be, but he is a lot of fun. He very much just eats the scenery, just like takes like ice cream scoops full of the scenery and just shoves it down his throat. You know, so. Like I said, Dre, at the end of the day, this is just like if you like Stranger Things, you're gonna love this movie. That's all I have to say. It's okay. Very much, and of course, this whole story is where kind of the whole idea for Stranger Things came from. So,
right. Okay, number 10 for me is one we already talked about. Should go by really fast. A lot of these, majority of these we kind of talked about already, so it should go by real fast.
It's just there's some stuff on here that I haven't talked about with you at all that I'm kind of worried I'm going to get too long-winded on, but go ahead.
All right, number 10 for me is Wonder Woman. So Wonder Woman, Wonder Woman's what the DCEU needed. It's essentially, it's not, I'm not saying it's a plant set, I'm just saying it's in the same vein. It has the Donner charm about it for a superhero film. Basically, for a superhero that has not really been tackled, hadn't been tackled on screen, it kind of gives like sort of a Donner flair of like, after all these years, it's kind of nice when you still kind of pull something out like that.
Mm-hmm.
For me, it was a wonder-filled surprise. It was a wonderful surprise. Gal Gadot, she was great. The No Man's Land sequence, I know everyone and their mother has talked about No Man's Land sequence, but it's really cool. The third act battle, look, I'll say this much in the third act battle. Look, it's the third act battle post the Ares reveal. Again, the Ares reveal doesn't bug me. Basically, when he's like intangible, that's cool. But when he becomes like a solid guy and he becomes in the thick of it, we do that action scene on the tarmac. For me, basically, that's like the half of the third act I'm talking about. I agree. Look, it's by the numbers, but at the end of the day, I'm going to say this. Out of all the, like they call it like the Snyder filter, of all the Snyder filter kind of battles like that, this is the one that actually feels the most warranted because the rest of them feel like we don't need it to be like that. This is the one time it feels like if we're going to do like a battle like that, at least he's in the armor. It looks just like he stepped off the page. And, it's in kind of like a tarmac where you could actually get away with that. So, comparatively, it's probably the best we could have out of those by the number sequences. But, yeah, it's a weak spot in the movie. But, it doesn't hurt the overall whole Wonder Woman. Good time. That was, it was cool to give Wonder Woman her due after all these years. And on her anniversary, which is 2017 as well. So,
okay.
75 years.
Okay, number 9. Get Out. Don't really have a ton to say about this that hasn't already been said. It's one of the most celebrated movies of the year by far for good reason. It's a very, very sharp social commentary, but outside of being a social commentary, it's also just a damn effective horror movie and a damn entertaining horror movie. I honestly wouldn't be shocked if this got nominated for Best Picture, Dragon. I really wouldn't, just because of the social, like the political element of it.
Sure.
And Jordan Peele's directorial debut, and he knocks it out of the park for sure.
I tell you, Key and Peele, they're going places, Tiki. Those young men are going places.
Mm-hmm. Dragon, I know you're not a horror movie guy, but I would recommend Get Out because it's definitely got a lot of social satire in there, and the horror elements of it are more kind of like the horror of like, oh my God, I'm dating this white girl, and I'm like the one black guy in the sea full of like snobby rich white people. You know what I mean? That's the horror of this movie. So, it's not like skeletons jumping out at you or anything like that. It's very much like a social horror.
Okay, number 9.
Number 9?
For me, is one we've talked about. Number 9 is old familiar favorite from Netflix. It is Big J. Jim and, well, close enough. Jim and Andy, The Great Beyond.
Okay, to be fair, it was hard to find images of this.
Well, yeah, so Jim and Andy, The Great Beyond, which we already kind of talked about a little bit. For me, it was like the surprise, and the reason it's so high was, it was a surprise announcement, just kind of completely caught me by storm. I knew this movie was coming when I saw the final trailer, because I heard like murmurs this thing was being made. I didn't know like when it was coming out, and then the trailer was kind of sprung up one day, and I learned I kind of learned the production behind it. And the production was a mind-blowing reveal to me because I had no knowledge. Because I remember it was sparing on the DVD features of Man on the Moon. I had no idea what the deal was with that, and I finally learned. I always had like the story about Jim Carrey splicing footage of him as Andy Kaufman with the actual Andy Kaufman, which I always had that legend told to me by Bob Zamuda. And it was just a mind-blowing reveal that Jim Carrey had all this footage of him. I didn't know he was method on. I mean, I knew he went method for the movie. I didn't know like they had footage of him going method on set, and the fact that he took it outside the set. I didn't know like he went method like for the whole duration of the production. I thought it was like a Franco thing. He was on set and he just kind of stuck in the. It was mind blowing. The film in itself. Again, the fact that they held this footage for 30 years because it was so unbelievable what Jim Carrey did as Andy Kaufman and how much he dedicated a role. And the fact that it's committed to film that can be seen and you get sucked into it. It's a fascinating character reflection on Jim Carrey in this film. And on Andy Kaufman, kind of factoring in what the freedom you would have becoming Andy Kaufman. And look, by the end, this is the thing I've had experience with kind of watching the film with other people. This film was probably the most rewatchable film for me this year. I've watched this movie many times. Mm-hmm. Secondly, even after I saw it first, I watched it like 5 other times. The end may not grab everyone. You kind of Jim Carrey's he gets really out there with kind of his end kind of summation of everything, and you may not grab. You may go over your head, but at the same time. That's the point. That's Andy Kaufman for you. That's the point of becoming Andy Kaufman. You're gonna get a little out there. Not everyone's gonna. It's not gonna grab everyone. That's the charm of the movie. It's a fascinating documentary.
Okay, cool. All right, let's see. We're up to what, like number 8?
8.
Yeah.
Yes.
8. Yeah. Okay. All right, give me one sec. Number 8 is, and I'm sorry, folks. At this point, everyone in my house is asleep, and I kind of have to whisper. There's not really a lot I can do about that. I wish I
midnight radio hour, folks. Just go with it. It's cool.
Okay, number 8 is Blade Runner 2049. Dragon, this is flat out the most challenging movie of the year. This movie is like mental fucking gymnastics, all right? This movie is a workout in a good way. Like, this movie is basically everything that AI should have been, like, thematically. It explores so many ideas about, like, you know, like the nature of relationships, the nature of humanity. It's just such a dense, packed to the gills think piece, Dragon. It's so dense, and I don't use dense in a negative way. I mean dense in that it's packed with ideas, man.
Sure.
I don't know if you would like it, Dragon. I wasn't a big fan of the original Blade Runner, but I love this. Like, this to me is what the original Blade Runner was kind of like striving to be, but with the modern day technology to really make it happen. Ryan Gosling, you know, my boy Gosling, you know, number 1 movie from last year was La La Land. He does an impeccable job. Dragon basically he's a replicant who's not sure if he's a human or not. And the whole film is like him kind of struggling with that identity crisis. Harrison Ford doesn't show up until late in the movie, but when he does, it's fantastic and it's well worth the wait. You know, like I said, Dragon, the reason why it's not in my top 5 is just because it's super challenging. It's not a movie for everyone. But if you're in the mood for some really dense, really thought-provoking sci-fi, you can't go wrong with Blade Runner 2049.
Okay.
All right.
And number 8 for me is another old familiar favorite, folks. One we've talked about before, but I really got a kick out of it, so I put it all the way at number 8. Because it's great. Number 8. Anyway, Disaster Artist.
And yes, I put Cranston in there just for you, Dragon.
Well, I do appreciate that. Good old grand man. Good old Cranston.
Grand man. God.
So yes, just put it simply, folks, and things will go quick here. As you know, for me, it's the best biopic of the year. It adds layers to why I never really considered before. For the various ones, again, one of these days, if they don't have a commentary, we'll definitely do a commentary. I don't know.
It does not have a commentary.
Regardless, we'll be talking about the movie in the future.
Mm-hmm.
Franco did an outstanding job, and also just I like the directing in this guy. I like how he directed very much like The Room was shot. But again, we know how meta he went with the direction because I know he didn't direct it like Wiseau. He directed like James Franco, but he spoke like Tommy Wiseau. The point is, meta bounds on this. Basically, number 9 and number 8 on my list are both the most meta movies of this year.
Okay.
So the shot in the limo says it all for me when they're in the limo with the room paraphernalia all over the place. So that shot just sums up the direction I'm talking about the movie. So again, that is really good.
Okay, number 7 for me. Lady Bird.
Lady Bird.
Oh, God. Okay, so Lady Bird is it's a coming of age movie, and it does have a rather obnoxious main character.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like, unlike movies like, like Juno or Napoleon Dynamite or any other movie like that, like this movie kind of like it earns the obnoxiousness because the whole point of this character's arc is that, yeah, she is a bratty, self-centered teenager. And you see her transform into a young woman throughout the movie. I mean, I know that sounds simple and cliche, but it's very transformative. It's the ending of this movie is so simple, Dragon, but it's basically about, like it's basically the main character kind of like reminiscing on her hometown and her childhood. It's so simple, but it really struck a chord with me. It really just hit me in the feels. Greta Gerwig, who you see there as the mother, she also directed the movie. She's fantastic in this film. Oh my God. I think, honestly, for me, I think she's probably the front runner for Best Supporting Actress. Like for me personally, like the best like supporting actress performance this year. She's great as the mother because she's obviously overbearing, but obviously loving at the same time. And we kind of, that get that sort of sweet sour combination down just right. This certainly isn't a movie for everyone, and this certainly isn't a movie for anyone who doesn't like kind of coming of age movies in general. But like I said, this movie's just so authentic. It really is. It's like this movie is like everything that Juno was like trying to be. Granted, outside the pregnancy subplot, I compare it to Juno because Juno is very much a character who's like, look at me, I'm snarky and I'm talking on my hamburger phone. But Lady Bird is very much a character who's just like, yeah, I'm an 18-year-old girl who has a serious identity crisis and has no idea what to do with her life. Good stuff. Good stuff.
Okay. Number 7 for me.
Yep.
Might be a head scratcher for Tiki, but I'm just going to go by it real quickly.
I understand that I'm in the minority with this. I understand.
Number 7 is a Marvel film. It is Spider-Man: Homecoming. So Spider-Man: Homecoming, honestly, it's a wish fulfillment of Spider-Man, the MCU. Again, just kind of the fun stuff you get from that. It's a big reason it's here. I think Marvel had a tremendous year this year. I think I loved all the Marvel films. I mean, honestly, it was hard to rank them, but at the end of the day, I mean, Spider-Man, Keaton as the Vulture was fantastic. It was fantastic, but at the same time, it's not perfect. There are a few elements that, again, I can understand can be dicey with people, but for me, elements like Flash Thompson, I didn't care for at all.
Oh, I agree.
I didn't care for Flash Thompson at all, but again, there's certain elements I get. It's different, but for me, I mean it's a different film that has fun in the MCU with a younger Spider-Man. We're doing things that we haven't really done with Spider-Man before, and I kind of respected that. We're kind of accepting, yeah, you guys know Spider-Man, you get it, you've seen his stuff. We might build to some of the familiar stuff, even if we don't. You've seen it before, so we're go in some different directions. Spider-Man, I respect it. I liked it. Just again, it's having fun in the MCU. That's always what it kind of boils down to for me. It's like taking full advantage, and it's a good time. So, Spider-Man: Homecoming, good.
Cool. Okay, number 6, which is probably going to be controversial that it's not in the top 5. Logan. I know.
All right, just go. What you got?
Okay, Dragon, I'll just look. We all know why we love this movie, right? So I don't need to say anything. I'll just tell you why it's outside of my top 5.
Go.
Okay,
right.
It's outside of my top 5 because I don't feel like it's that rewatchable. Because it's a very, very depressing movie. It's a downer of a movie. I'm not saying it's a slog, but it's very much a commitment. You know what I mean? It's an emotional commitment. And it's not something that I could just pop into my DVD player and just watch over and over and over again. It's a powerful movie for sure. And it's, it's obviously like, I talk blue in the face about how great it is. But like I said, Trey, the only reason why it's outside of my top 5 is it kind of lacks that raw entertainment factor for me. And I don't know, you might feel very differently about the rewatch factor, but I've tried watching this movie a few times at home, and I'm not saying it doesn't hold up. Like I said, I'm just saying it's an emotional investment in the same way that Blade Runner was an intellectual investment. This is an emotional investment. So,
right.
Okay,
number 6 for me was also it was a Marvel film. Now not Marvel Fox. Again, now it's all the simpatico. Now, again, kind of a big takeaway.
2017. Dragon, the fact that this is over Spider-Man: Homecoming is like the only thing I care about.
Again, I had to weigh my options here, folks. So I kind of like, and I think they're all good. But in the end, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, I'd put over Spider-Man: Homecoming because I think it was the most anticipated Marvel film of the year. To be quite honest, I mean, Ragnarok, it was all built up with the trailer. I'm saying going into the year, I think Guardians of the Galaxy 2 had the most kind of hype behind it. It's very Guardians of the Galaxy. I think is really it's very rewatchable. It's enjoyed by many, including myself. It's I think everyone was serviced well. The emotional moments of Yondu we've already kind of spoken about. Again, Tiki did the legwork on this one, so I'm going to let that slide. But for me, honestly, the moment I keep coming back to, of course, it was Peter learning about his father and kind of learning about his father figure simultaneously. It's also great. We have some great symbolism, kind of like the ego of the planet, which is great. End of the day. For me, I mean, yeah, some of the humor doesn't land, and there's some of the stuff feels mandated. Like we did stuff in the first one that was popular, we got to do in the second one. So that's the stuff that the points to take off of Guardians 2. It's not really nothing that kills the movie. It's things that kind of consider. For me, the moment I keep coming back to, I keep loving is those flashes when Peter seems to be like he's going to be not killed off, but he's going to be he's in peril. He has these silent flashes of like these happy moments he's had with with his friends. Like he's laughing with Drax, he's sailing the skies with Rocket, and Riondu's teaching him how to fire his blaster. Though that moment is the moment I keep coming back to. That keeps like that's the reason I want to watch Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. That moment right there with Peter Quill. And I love Star. I love Peter Quill. That moment for me is that's what makes Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 sing for me. That moment.
All right. Dragon, I hate to do this, but I think at this point I want to call it.
Call it?
Because all 5 of the movies in my top 5 I really want to talk about in detail, and I don't want to just whisper over. So I really think we should just kind of bump it up. Do you mind?
Well,
and not to mention the fact that like it's like I work tomorrow, and like we've still got a considerable way to go. Everyone in my house is asleep. Like it's just like I really feel like it'd be better to just do a separate podcast on our top 5 of the year. All right. So sorry about that, folks. Just a wee bit anticlimactic, but it was kind of a long journey to get here. We'll definitely be coming back tomorrow for our top 5 movies of the year. Like I said, Dragon, this will give me a chance to like really, really get into the nitty gritty. Like we really have to like get into the nitty gritty of talking about Star Wars and stuff like that, and there's definitely 2 or 3 movies in my top 5 that you have it. Well, hold on, let me do the math on that. Actually, there's I
have one that you don't have in the top 5.
Yeah, there's 2 movies in the top 5 that you haven't seen, and both of them I want to talk kind of extensively about. So,
right.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So, folks, in the meantime, thank you so much for watching. Dragon, anything else to go out on?
To be continued.